Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, darling.
What's the news today, brah?
Not much. I got showings tonight at 6 o'clock. So when I see you this afternoon, just got to kick me out of here by.
Okay, you want to reschedule? That way you don't feel pressed?
No. Do you think we'll be done by 5:20?
Oh, I don't know. I added a couple of things in my mind. So maybe, I don't know.
Let me look at my calendar. You know what, Pam? Are you able to come in a little earlier?
How much earlier?
I'm available at right after this, so maybe like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I could do 4 o'clock.
Okie dokie.
Look at us working it out like two people. Yeah.
It's like we're meant to be in business.
So true. Like I found you. Like
Hello, Pam. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. And no, I'm not as kind to all of the master faculty, just you.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's something about having been around for 23 years that I tend to know where stuff is. In fact, I'll see if I can get this to show up.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Pam.
Hey, Shannon, how is you?
Okay, maybe I can get the glare not too terrible. Can you see that?
Oh, I do see that. That's great. Love it.
Because everybody has a picture with Gary Keller going.
Right?
All right, how many people are we expecting today?
Kate, do you happen to know?
I don't have the exact amount. I can look though. Give me 1 minute.
I just wondered,
We have a good amount.
Are we mostly here? Not mostly here?
Most of our teams are going to be on. Most of our bigger teams are going to be on here today.
Cool. That's great. Well, the models are just so different for teams than for solos. So
I like to harass them until they, not the right word. I like to bug them until they register.
Oh no, I'm totally good with harassment. Oh, that's right. That's great. Yeah. I also engage in said behavior when needed. Like, come on, let's go. No excuse. And I wore my CEO shirt just for you guys.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. I started thinking maybe I should have worn this one tomorrow for the solos because they really need to think like a CEO, but
Okay. Tomorrow we won't tell.
Okay. Well, hopefully nobody will be, I guess Rick will be here for both.
Rick can't tell you from over here.
Oh, good. I have a washing machine. I can wash it tonight. I actually love my machine because it has a quick wash setting. So, you don't have to use 2.5 hours worth of water and electricity. I mean, it's not like we're out working in the mud or anything these days.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of are.
Oh, well, I'm not. I tend to be working right here. Like, this is my space. I live in this space.
It's raining for a couple of days. All the yards are muddy.
Oh man, so let's see, today's Tuesday night, we got 3.5 inches of rain.
That's what you're saying.
And we got another like 1/2 inch last night. So we don't need more rain. It's sunny right now, but I think this is the last sun we're seeing for a week.
Yeah.
Drawbacks of living in Cleveland.
Yeah. Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland does rock. Yeah, and apparently we have a football team this year.
We do not in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sore subject here.
I bet. Although, think about poor Washington, right? Like, they're not going to use the name Redskins, but they haven't come up with another name, so they're the Washington football team.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, goodness.
There's Dobby, Erica Dobby. Amy, hey, good morning or good afternoon, I guess now.
Pam, I just text Rick, but we should have about 28 participants in total. I know like the Scott team, they're all in one room, so they may be all on the same screen.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, my morning session this morning, I think we only had like 12. And so it got to be just a really nice conversation. So I'm hoping we can keep this instructional as well as conversational, because I think we all get more out of it when we can keep it a little bit more conversational.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give it one more minute and we'll get going.
Okay. Fine by me. Yeah, we I don't know if it was because there were fewer people or because business planning isn't, so the other market center where I taught this morning is one where I teach every year. So this was not new content, just
Yeah.
new formatting of the content. So, but you guys normally do this class, I understand, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
All right, cool. Who normally teaches it?
We had Gene Rivers once.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Schumacher, our region director, did it once.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who else. I think we've had it 3 or 4 times.
We've
Which
had BJ from I can't remember which market center he's over. BJ's done it for us twice, and then last year we had Russ Nolte.
Oh yeah, Russ, that's right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is probably, like if I were to, there's 2 classes that I'm probably known for. It'd be this one and the Systematize Your Business class. Those are the 2 that I do most. Although I have a 13-week ops class that I just launched that I'm doing with a really great director of ops. And so we're doing 13 weeks and really nailing down that ops role, and it is so much fun.
Wow. And is that for teams mainly?
Yeah, because if you think about it, well, I mean, it could be a solo, right? But what does that ops role do? And how do they learn that role? Because most agents are pretty bad at training ops people.
Or have the time to do it.
Or have the time to do it. And so we just took that off their plate and put together 13 weeks of now do homework, now learn, now do homework. And so it's really fun. We're having a blast.
That's awesome. We'll talk offline about that, Pam. I wouldn't mind getting that scheduled for the market center.
Sure. Yeah. It's a
We're in.
hefty. Yeah, Shannon.
We're in. Count
You're
me
in.
Make that happen because we are bad at training.
I mean, I think everybody is. Generally, Rick, what I do with this one is rather than have a market center host it, is I feel like we get even more value from putting together one from across the country and having the people who want it join that rather than doing it by the systems class. We could talk about doing the systems class, and there'd probably be some of the same people in there. That's 4 sessions and much more manageable. This one just feels like you learn more when Shannon's admin, gets to talk to, Miner's admin in DC and this one in California, and right. So you get that greater perspective.
That's awesome.
That's one of the great things about KW is that, we've got all that and we've got the network. And this one's only open because it's so based on KW resources that the admin class is not open to guests.
Perfect. Love it.
I mean, unless you're imminently joining KW, it doesn't make sense because we're going to talk about how you do your job with the KW tools.
Yeah.
Wouldn't make sense.
Love it. All right, guys, we're going to get started here. So first of all, Pam, thank you for a great day yesterday. I do want to share with you the feedback was very, very positive. People really love your engagement, your sense of humor, sidebar conversations. So feedback was really, really strong from yesterday. So thank you.
My pleasure.
And then today, guys, bear with us. This is one of the first times that we are going to, as a market center, host breakout rooms. So for technology-wise, Kate and I will muscle through this the best we can. And I know Pam is able to help with that. But we do have some preset rooms that we're going to split into this afternoon. So bear with us as we work through those. And then Pam asked yesterday, for those who do not have their videos on, if you can, please video, that would be great. It's much easier for her to see the face and be more interactive with you. So other than that, I'm really looking forward today. Hopefully you guys got your homework done, where you filled out your economic models of what you currently are at and where you aspire to be. So if you have those, pull those out. And I think with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Pam.
Okie dokie then. Awesome. So I'd like to start with, what ahas did you get from going through the economic model, hopefully yesterday, or maybe this morning? What did you learn from doing that? Because I already talked for 3.5 hours this morning, so you guys got to talk a little bit.
I realized that I had stopped using Kelly to track all my appointments and instead was relying solely on my calendar, which made it very time consuming to go back and find my appointment numbers to get my ratios.
I bet.
Yeah, that was painful.
Yeah, better now than later. Okay, what else? Who else had an aha from going through these numbers?
Well, I think for me, Pam, just knowing where I was at and measuring to, you know, how many appointments I need, et cetera, was eye-opening. But then to where I aspired to be, clearly I identified a gap there. So now how do I manage that gap of getting to where I truly want to be financially?
I really like that. So what were the key areas that you found that the gap exists? So was it average commission? Was it conversion rates? Was it units? What was the biggest place that you saw?
Actually, appointments, getting enough appointments to feed the business.
Okay. Yeah. I just know so many people that go on appointments and yet then don't close for the rep agreement, which makes it really hard to understand your conversion rates. And if you're just super, and most jurisdictions, of course, I don't know anything about your jurisdictions because you're in two, you're in Illinois and Missouri. Okay. So with your two jurisdictions, I assume that most of them require a signed buyer agreement. And so, okay, people are doing them right before the contract. If you're super uncomfortable with just closing for the rep agreement, just tell them that they can cancel it, but close for the appointment. Just close for the appointment. I don't understand why people don't close for the appointment. I think part of it may be a value proposition concern. And as I have said, I don't know if I said it to you guys, price is only an issue in the absence of value. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. So if you've got enough value, people are okay with paying the price. And with buyers, if you're just accepting whatever the MLS offers for buyers, either go be worth more or figure out a better script. Because if you're really doing your job for buyer's agents, you should be getting 3 to 3.5% on every deal.
Wow.
You just should. Why are you looking at me like that, Shannon? Take yourself off mute, hon. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I said, it's the first time I've heard someone say that, so I'm processing it.
Okay, well, let's think about all the things that you do for a buyer. So you do a needs analysis. You help them identify the house that really is going to work for them long-term. Okay, so that's the start. You help them find the house. You help them know the right price to offer for the house. You do all the paperwork. You negotiate on their behalf. You protect their best interest throughout the transaction. You have all of the people that they need in order to successfully get moved into the house that they need. You're managing multiple pages of contracts and addendas and signatures and initials and deadlines that all need to happen in order for them to successfully move into the house that is going to meet their needs, right? Okay. Shouldn't that be worth 3 to 3.5% of the commission?
I don't disagree. I think it's not customary in this market.
So
I'm not
sorry, I'm just going to throw it out there.
I'm talking through my train of thought here.
Yeah.
So it's not customary, which means other agents aren't doing it as the norm. What we have started recently seeing in the market is the addition of an admin fee, and that is starting to be adopted across some of the teams and other agents too, I think, in the area. So my train of thought is just going to, how do we adopt this? And immediately I went to 50 other places. How do I market it? How do I put it together? How do I my buyer presentation? Like, I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
processing
love it. So I think it starts with a good script and a really strong value proposition, right? Like when you really, really, really understand the value that you're providing, it becomes a lot easier to say, you know, Shannon, that when you work with me and my team, these are all the things that we do for you. So we do this and this and this and this, and we negotiate, and we have the people, like when you go through, we do all of this for you. And you know the best part? The best part is that that only costs 3.5% of the commission. Now, it gets even better. You know why? Because the seller is going to pay the vast majority of that. In general, my clients end up paying somewhere around 0.5 to 1.5% because the seller covers the rest of that for you. Isn't that amazing?
Oh yeah, I have no issue with that script. I'm just thinking it through.
Yeah. Well, I guess, so it's
Agreed.
really interesting because I have an awful lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Maybe they won't work with me. Okay, try it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That statement reminds me of when new agents first come into the business and they're scared to call people.
Right.
You know, it's just we haven't yet owned our value proposition when we look at it through fear eyes versus through an opportunity situation. Yeah, I'm with you.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so much there. I literally know people like in the city of Baltimore where their average sales prices are so low that they have a minimum commission. So if you're going to buy a $30,000 house, my minimum commission is $5,000 because no matter what percent you're doing, you're not going to get to that. And anybody else is 4.5% on the buyer side. And they just work with the lender to help figure out how they're going to get that figured in.
Yeah, that's how we roll our buyer agency agreements. We have a minimum commission and a minimum percentage as well. If there's a difference, it gets billed to close. However, we have an obstacle in that the VA loan does not allow the buyer to pay commission.
Sure.
So we have to then think backwards into the closing costs at time of contract, so it can be applied at time of closing to the bottom line.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's just a little more
Yeah.
involved.
What percentage of your business there in that market center are you doing VA?
Ours is about 90 to 94% VA.
Really?
We're a niche team.
Oh, okay. What's near you?
The Scott Air Force Base.
Okay. I was looking at the map and going, because my husband taught at Command and General Staff College out in Fort Leavenworth.
Okay.
So I was like, I can't think of what's there. Yeah. All right. So Scott, okay, cool. Yeah. And good. No, so knowing that, right, if you're 90 to 94%, and so you're already doing part of that. Now, how do you work that in? And I think average commission is not just the percent, it's also the flat fee,
Right.
some administrative fee, flat fee, wherever that goes. And there's a place in that for that now in the P&L, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
So cool. So who else did the two different economic models, and what did you learn from doing that exercise? Not a lot of homework doers.
Come on, guys.
Nobody did their homework. See, this is the danger of leaving and saying, go do your homework. This is what happens. Yeah. Okay. So if you did not do it, let's just take a minute and run through. So you've got one on page, let's see, what have you got? You've got one on page 3.17. So just take out a pencil or a pen and your calculator, and we're just going to step it through. So let's start with, what is the net income that you want to do? So I'm going to throw $1 million in here because that's what my PowerPoint has. Put your net income goal for 2021 in that top line. Now we have to do a little bit of arithmetic here, and that's okay. Take that number that you wrote in and divide by 0.4, and the answer goes in this line, the total GCI line.
Pam, for our admins that are in the room, what would you recommend they use for these numbers?
For the admins,
Yeah, because everyone has different situations. They have a bonus opportunity, referral opportunities. You know, I'm sure there's different situations for every team in here. How would you recommend they work their income goals?
what I would say is, what's the net income? Actually, you know what? Hang tight for a second. Let me do this first, and then I'll do that if that's okay.
Thank you, Pam.
Sure. And then if you are an agent on a team, okay, not the lead agent, but an agent on a team, take your net income and divide that number by the percent of the commission that you keep, and put that number on this total GCI line. Okay, everybody with me so far? Except the admins. Admins are stuck for a second. You're just gonna have to hang tight. Now, we know that the model now says 30, 30, 40, right? 30% cost of sale, 30% operating expense, 40% profit. So take your GCI, which is the big number that you wrote on this line, take it times 0.3, and write it under operating expense. And then write that same number under cost of sales, because the same number times the same percent gives you the same answer. So if you are an agent on a team, you don't have to worry about your operating expense or your cost of sales unless you have some operating expense. And we're going to talk in the budget model about what are the things that I think buyer's agents ought to be budgeting for themselves out of their money. So we'll talk about that in the budget model. Now, what is your average commission amount? Put that in on the average commission amount. And divide to get the total number of units. So as a reminder, what we did is we started with net income. We divided that by 0.4 because this represents 40% of the total GCI to get 2.5 million. We took that 2.5 million times 0.3 to get operating expense and cost of sales. Now we're going to take the GCI, divide by our average commission to get our total number of sales. So give me some sort of heads up, head nod, something that you are with me this far. Okay, I got Rick, I got Amy, I got Erica. I got Kristen, thank you. I got Pam, I got Amanda. Okay, Boyd's got me a high five, awesome, thank you. Feel free to put a camera on, Boyd, there, it's okay. You don't have to be all dressed up.
And
Okay.
he's having a good hair day.
He's having a good hair day?
Mhm,
Oh,
yeah.
good, okay. I'm not so much, but you know.
Dad's sick right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you're here. We appreciate you being here. Okay, now write in what percentage of your business is going to come from sellers. And on the other side, what percent is going to come from buyers. So what percent of your business? Now, I personally believe that every listing ought to generate 2 buyers for me. Well, that means by definition that 33% of my business is coming from sellers and 66 or 7 or whatever is coming from buyers, right? If I'm going to get 2 buyers for every listing, I'm going to have more buyers than listings. If I'm going to get 1 buyer for every listing, I'm going to have 50-50. I think a lot of people hadn't really internalized that. How many buyers are you going to get from every listing? Okay, so then you're going to take your 350 up here, or whatever number you had here for total number of units, times the percent that you wrote, and the answer goes under total seller listings sold. Okay, now here's where we need to know where your skills are. MREA says that 70% of the seller listings that you take will close. And that may be true right now. It may be higher than that right now. We are due a downturn. We are due for a downturn. So what is the number of seller listings percent that you take in 2021 that will actually go all the way to closing? If this were me, and I have tracked my numbers and I know my skill level, I might keep it at 70%. If I'm not 100% sure, I might go a little bit less than that, because you need to know. If you're a buyer's agent. So if you're a buyer's agent, Amanda, 100% of your business is going to be on the buyer side. So hang tight till we get on that side, okay? Thank you for asking. So put it in time, take 150 divided by the percent sold. So this turns into 0.7. To divide by a percent, you divide by 0.7. So 175 divided by 0.7 gets a bigger number. So if you did the math and you came up with a smaller number, it's because you multiplied. Go back and divide. Real estate agents are very, very good at multiplying. We ain't so good at dividing. So take your seller sold divided by your percent of conversion rate to get the total seller listings needed. Now, MREA says 75% of the listing appointments that you go on, they should sign an agreement with you. So we take 250 divided by 0.75 and we get 333. So go ahead and do your numbers. Okay, give me a heads up, high five, thumbs up, something. Let me know if you're with me this far. This is the point where I'd be walking around the room checking. Thank you, Kristen. Boy, Sarah, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I can see you. Okay, Robin, you good? You're good? Okay. Amy, good? All right, so let's go to the buyer side now. So buyer's agents, you're going to take your total number of closings up here and it all goes over to the buyer side, right? So anybody else, you put your percent in over on the other side, and then you're going to do that math again, right? So total number of units times the percent gives you the total number of buyer listing agreements taken. It's all about the listing agreements taken. Now, MREA says once you have a signed buyer rep agreement, that 70% of those should go on to close. So we're going to take your total number of buyers listings sold divided by your conversion rate gives you the total number of buyer listings needed. I suspect that 70% will hold pretty solid through 2021, because even if we have a market downturn, that means we turn more to a buyer's market, probably. So once you get one under contract, I suspect the 70% will hold. The question is going to be how good are you at getting them to sign with you? Because that's going to be a really important skill as the market shifts. MREA says 70% of the buyer appointments that you go on should sign a rep agreement with you. So 357 total buyer appointments needed. And then divide that by 12 for how many per month, 48 for how many per week. I like dividing by 48 because it gives me 4 weeks off. So how many am I going to do every week in order to get 4 weeks off a year? It gives me a week off a quarter. That's probably good enough refreshment. I can probably handle that. Okay, so for admins, you won't really be able to use this form per se, because we're not thinking about conversion rates and things in there for admins. what I would say is, what's the net number that you want to make? Well, what's the number that you want to make? Subtract your salary so you know what the differential is. Then what are the ways that I have in order to meet that differential? So if you're licensed, a referral fee, the other ways that you bonuses, right? What are the ways that you can do that? And then I would break it into 2 pots. Well, I would break it into the pots of the ways that I can do it and say, okay, if I can get bonus, how do I maximize my bonus? What are the things that I have to do in order to maximize my bonus, to maximize my income? And that's going to be managing expenses and making sure that you're helping to drive revenue. Not letting leads fall through the cracks, making sure that you're managing that pipeline, making sure that you're always into command, looking at the nurtures and not letting anybody fall through. Making sure everybody's on a smart plan so that we don't lose people. Like, all those things would help to drive revenue, which will drive profit, which will drive your bonus. And then if there are referral opportunities, what percent, how much money do you want from that? Divide it by the average referral fee that you would get, and then say, okay, how many people do I need to introduce to the team every week so that I can get the referral bonus? Does that help, Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. That's perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, so everybody with me so far? So this is not a difficult drill. It really isn't. And what's cool about the sheet is that it literally takes you step by step right through it. It tells you what exercise to do. Either you're multiplying or dividing. And if it's a percent, you move the decimal over 2 points, right? So 70% just means 0.7. And as long as you remember that, this will be an easy exercise for you. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this one because we did. Based on now what we did yesterday and having done this now, what are the 3 action steps that you need to take around your economic model? And those go on page 3.21. And it'd be great if somebody else besides me talked for a minute.
Okay, I'll go first. We need to finish polishing our CRM to make sure all of our contacts are on the campaigns we want them to, and that all of our tasks associated with our contacts are what we need them to be to generate the activity reminders that we need to do. That is our top priority on our team right now.
Love it.
That's
Okay.
one action step. I think we need more detailed feedback after the transaction. We send out surveys and we get wonderful, nice things said, but I think we can grow further and ask better questions in our follow-up. What could we have done? It's great you had a great experience. What would have catapulted that into a phenomenal experience to make you my champion? I think that's a better question that we need to ask, to hear what while it went okay or great and they love us, what could we have done more? I think that is right for our team because we're relationship based.
Okay.
And then I need to think more on the third step.
Okay. One of the best
track our activity better. We're not good at tracking our activity.
Okay. One of the best places to increase the chances of people becoming an advocate for you are the touches between first meeting them and closing.
Yes.
Look at your systems. Don't wait until closing to start loving on them.
Correct.
So from the first day I meet you until closing, what am I doing there? Then you got your 36 touches, but what am I doing in this bit?
Yeah.
So things like, as soon as I meet you, maybe I'm sending you a handwritten note card with a lottery ticket saying, I know you choosing a real estate agent can feel like playing the lottery. I hope you win. I hope you win the lottery. I know you win with me. Right? Like just something simple. And then sending a dozen brownies or cookies or something when they go under contract. Having little flashlights that you make to take to the home inspection. right? Little branded flashlights. What do you do to make the process remarkable? That they go to work and go, oh my gosh, look what happened. This is so amazing. That's what you want,
Yes.
right? So you look at those systems around that. Okay, who else has got a few action steps to take as a result of the economic model?
Come on, guys. Who else wants to speak up?
Katie's got one. Hang on. Our director of operations.
Yay.
Hi, I'm over here. Same room. But one of the things as a newer team moving into our new office space and things like that is I'm trying really diligently to make sure that we are connecting with our community in terms of like outreach, social media outreach, things like that, to make sure that people know that we are here and that we are new and we are always available and we are part of their community.
I love it. I think that's a really great place to start. As we get into the lead generation model, I suspect that you're going to get some ahas from that. Anybody that needs to work on conversion rates, or do you need to track better so you know what they are? Yeah. I really like the aha of, oh, I am not using Kelly and I really could be using Kelly. Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, I just said all of the above because I'm brand new and it's just very helpful for me to just see what my numbers should be, things like that. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
One of our buyer's agents, Jennifer Schneider, one of her ahas from yesterday was, I need to learn scripts more. And she's already a fantastic converter, but the fact that she had that aha for her tells me she launched into thinking bigger. And I handed her my bold script USB, and her homework for the next 30 days is listen to that in the car and nothing else. And last night when I called her at 8 o'clock, her first answer was not hello, it was you're interrupting my script time.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. You know, a script is just the best way to say something. And consumers know their scripts better than we do because we have weird, it's a script. I don't want to do that. Get over it. Get over it. You use scripts all the time. You use a script for why you don't like scripts. You use a script with your kids on what you want them to do. You use a script all the time. We all use scripts all day long. So just pick a good one instead of a default one. Okay, so let's talk about the lead generation model. So when we talk about the lead generation model, remember the pyramid, right? So the pyramid is built on a foundation of leads. So we have to start with lead generation. Now, the lead generation model has completely changed from last year. You know, the whole Mets haven't Mets thing out the window, all gone. I know, Ginger. I was like, wait, what? Help. Okay. Yeah, and they released this the last week of September and said, here, you all are starting to teach this already. Learn all this new content. Okay, great. So lead generation, the new definition, and I thought this was really interesting. The new definition of lead generation is capturing leads and putting them in your database. Capturing leads and putting them in your database. So without leads, of course, you don't have business. Now, lead generation happens through prospecting and marketing. They don't just show up on your doorstep. In the new version, now we're going to talk about leads and contacts. So leads are people with whom you have one-way communication. In other words, you're pushing information to them, but it is not a two-way dialogue, okay? So leads are one-way communication. Contacts are two-way communication. So you have permission to market to them. You have permission to talk to them. You have permission to stay in touch with them. Can I say permission a few more times so you get the hint? Yeah, permission marketing. Seth Godin has got a fantastic book, Permission Marketing. Not a bad idea. There's so much demand on our attention right now that when we have permission to stay in touch, we have lots better results. So leads, one-way communication, contacts, two-way communication. with understood or implicit permission. So opt in. People are opting in, opting out. We can do this via prospecting or via marketing. So what's the difference between prospecting and marketing? At some point, Rick, they're going to figure out I'm just going to stop and shut up until somebody else answers. Hey,
Prospect-
Ginger. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ginger, go ahead.
No, I don't think that was me. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Prospecting to me is, you know, like circle dialing, calling expireds for sell by owners. Marketing is I'm spending money half the time. I mean,
That's the big difference, right? One's money, one's time. So we want to build on just like we're building on a foundation of models, we want to build on a foundation of prospecting first. Now, prospecting is not just cold. Doing the database too is prospecting. Calling people that know you, like you, and trust you is prospecting. So a lot of times I think we say prospecting and people go, ooh, that's scary, that's cold calls. Prospecting is just, it takes time, it's proactive, and it gets you immediate results. So I want you to start changing your mind about what is it that prospecting is really. Prospecting really is just proactive. Forward calls, care calls, that's prospecting. Now, marketing is how you enhance and leverage your prospecting. There's only so many people you can call over the course of a day. However, you can mail to more people, you can email to more people. It's more money intensive and it scales. So what we want is for teams to first generate the profit from the prospecting, invest part of those prospects into marketing, part of that profit from the prospecting into marketing. I really can talk today. May not be evidence thereof, but I really can. Okay. So we want to use the marketing to enhance. So if we're going to mail something to a neighborhood, we would want to call around and make sure they got it, right? So, oh, I'm going to mail magnets out to the neighborhood. I'm going to call. Hey, I'm just checking to make sure that you got your magnet. You know, did you get it? Is there anybody else that you know that would like one? Is there anything I can help you with this time? I know sometimes I look really, really busy, and I want you to know that I always have time to help you or anyone you care about with anything related to real estate, right? Super simple call. You're following up on something that you sent them. So we're marketing, enhancing that prospecting that we're doing. It gives us a reason to call. Most of us are happy to call if we can think of an excuse. All right, good so far? Okay. So interestingly, what we're finding is that we have two jobs. When we're in real estate, the two things that we really have to focus on are lead generation and getting listings, because the listings are going to generate the buyers. So we need to have the lead generation that is proactive and consistent. Now you know how many appointments you need to go on because you did the economic model. So you know that number. So what we need to figure out is what's the lead generation that we have to do in order to make those appointments happen. How you do your lead generation will also depend on your conversion to appointments. If you're doing massive online lead generation, your conversion rate to appointment is going to be low. And then from appointment to rep agreement is going to be low, right? Because these are really cold, no relationship people, unless you've got a really good warm up. So we'll be talking about that. Now, we know that many agents do spur of the moment idea of the month prospecting and marketing. There's no such thing as a one-touch plan. Not in this MREA, not in MREA 2, there's no such thing as a one-touch plan. So if you've got this brilliant idea about something that you want to do, you need to go back to your plan and say, how does it fit in with what I'm doing? Because one-offs don't work. They have to be part of a broader plan of multiple touches to warm up those people. You know, so many agents adopt new lead generation programs from the latest and best, latest and greatest new, most creative thing that they can find, and they forget that there's a model involved. We need to make sure that we're staying in touch with the model. Now, millionaire real estate agents have a plan. They begin with the tried and true, and then they're looking around going, okay, I've got this much money I can spend on something creative because I know that this is doing what I need. What's out there? What's out there that I can try? But they don't take their lead generation budget and do that. So on page 4.3, take a second and circle the activities that you currently do. What are the things that you currently do? And that may take a minute to go through that. And then when you're done with what are the ones that you currently do, what are ones that you might want to add in 2021? Is there anything new that you might want to add to this? Anything that supports what you're currently doing that you could do at a higher level? So what we've noticed across the top agents is that there's a rule of 4. In other words, most of their business comes from 4 or fewer lead generation strategies. I personally like the three-legged stool analogy. What are the 3 legs that support my stool of my business? There's a, you may have seen, there's something called the 135 or the GPS. Have you seen that? I think you should have a lead generation 135, one that's just for lead generation. These are my 3 pillars of lead generation, and these are the 5 action steps that I take in that pillar. Specific, measurable, calendarable. So if you write something in there as an action step, it has to be able to go on your calendar. That's how specific your 135 or your GPS should be in lead generation. Because what I find is that if I were to look at most of your calendars, I'm probably going to see a big old block of time that says lead gen. And you walk in the morning and you look at that and you're like, lead gen, lead gen. Wonder what I ought to be doing, right? And that's what happens with lead gen. I wonder what I ought to be doing. And you're not, and then you don't do anything because you're not sure what you ought to do. So you fuzz around for a little bit and then you're like, oh, time's up. Yay. Guess I'll start again tomorrow. So on your calendar, those 135 activities move to your calendar very specifically. Very specifically. So for you to do the database 2, on your calendar, it should say do the database 2 and which letters you're on that week. So that you don't have to think about it. You just walk in, look at your calendar. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Boom. Okay, great. Now I'm gone. I'm done. I'm ready to go. Be incredibly specific. The other thing is to remember that all work expands to fill the time allowed. So when you put those activities on your calendar, don't give them too much time. Make yourself get them done in less time, and I bet you'll get them done. The only reason so much of what we do takes so much time is because we let it. We just let it. Now, in my mind, 0 excuse for not having a really strong database referral business. Just no excuse at all. Just none. Like if you don't have your database polished, cleaned up, whatever you want to call that, and your 36 touches in place, Like just make a commitment that by the end of the month, the end of this month, which is 8 days from now, that you will. 8 days from now. You know why? Because done is better than perfect. And if I give you till the end of the year, you'll take till the end of the year, and it won't be any better. It'll just take longer. So whatever it takes to get 36 touches in place by the end of this month, make it happen. Basically 2 touches a month, plus 4 forward calls and a couple of events, and you're done. You're there. We make it way too hard. Don't make it so hard. Make it done. So obviously that's where your database is first. Just start there and then start building out the rest of your 135. Once you have optimized 3 strategies of lead generation, then maybe you can look at others. I would much rather that you go all in with 2 than go halfway into 6, right? At Mega Camp, right, it's about self-mastery. It's about mastery. How do we master what we're doing? And if you're trying to learn 6 things, you're not going to master those. So let's narrow it down. Let's first get the database in place. Okay, now what's my next pillar? Let me go get that really nailed down. Great, now what's my next pillar? Okay, now are all 3 of these really super solid? Is there anything else I can do with those 3? Okay, is this enough or do I need a 4th? Now you're running your business like a business instead of a pinball machine. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a second. What are you hearing? Because this is, I don't know, I think this is kind of big.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm one of those guys that has the lead gen block on my calendar. So I thought that that was really a good call out. And I really like the idea of building a GPS around that and how easy it is to convert that to a 411 and really nail out my lead gen every month.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, there's just, I mean, we're really well trained from the time we were little. We went to school, the bell rang, we got up and we went and did the next thing. So, which actually brings me to a point. I am hearing and seeing across the country that we are tired. We're tired. The days are getting shorter, nights are getting longer. It's dark when you get up, it's dark when you go to bed. I don't think motivation is going to get you through the next 6 months. I think what's going to get you through the next 6 months is habit. I think the habits are what are going to pull you through the next 6 months. Trying to rely on motivation and willpower is going to be pushing a rock uphill, I think. I mean, I'm just hearing it all across the country from people I'm talking to everywhere that, how do I get more motivation? I don't think you do. I think you just fall back to your habits. So now would be a really good time to examine your habits, and are they supporting who you want to be and where you want to be? Okay. So this is the new lead gen model. So you might remember we used to have, Mets and having Mets and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Okay, great. In a way, this is not all that different, right? Because we do lead capture via prospecting and marketing, and they go into the database. And there's 2 buckets in that database. So there's your leads, the one-way communication, right? Where we're working to form a relationship with them. And then we've got the contacts. It's probably the opposite way for you because I'm going backwards to you. So the contacts, which will be on your right, will be strengthening the existing relationship. Remember, we have 2-way communication with those people. So that's where we've got our 2 different communication plans. And then we can prepare those contacts for conversion, interactive needs-based offerings, using command, the AI, and out of that pops new and repeat business and referral business, which goes right back up to the top and works its way back through. So if you think about it, it really isn't that different. So I'm intrigued on page 4.7, how many names do you have in your database right now? So write down a number. And then how many of those do you communicate with regularly? Write down that number. So my biggest differential this morning was somebody had 8,230 something people in the database and 380 that he communicated with regularly. Can anybody beat that? Okay, let's see who's got the biggest differential in this group. So who's got a number over 4,000 of names in the database? Over 2,000? Okay, how many of those do you communicate with regularly, Shannon?
My whole team laughed.
That.
All of my active clients and all of my champions, which is probably 4 to 5% of my database.
How much?
4 to 5%.
4 to 5%. Okay. So here's the way I like to tackle this project. I don't think there's any such thing as clean up the database. I think it's an impossible task and we shouldn't even try to do that because it's just not the way our brains work. What I would do is the database too. So I would, and if you have too many people, you're probably right at the cusp in there, depending on how many people you've got in there. But if you've got really under 3,000, you might be able to do the database too. And what I would recommend is pick those 2 letters, or if you have too many, pick 1 letter, just 1, and then you'll get through them all in 6 months. 1 letter, call them all. If they are not already one of your champions, one of your advocates, then ask this question. If you or someone you cared about needed real estate help, how likely are you to call me on a scale of 1 to 5? Just ask that question. And if you can't do it, hire a telemarketer to do it.
I'll do it.
Get it done. Because you have got to know who's real in your database and who's not. And you know, there's probably business in those people that you're not communicating with regularly.
Yeah, that's been our, we launched in April, our goal for our database. It took us a couple months to find the system we were going to use. And then we had a little baby happen on the team. So we suspended that for a moment and the business was, I've got all kinds of excuses as to why it didn't get done. But when Mama came back about a month and a half ago, we launched and we now have part of our campaigns started. So we're starting to get the feedback of that. So I don't have the numbers of who we're truly communicating with because we just haven't gotten there yet. But that is all in the works, including that. So thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, the easiest way to do this for everybody on this call is just do the database too. And if you have too many people, do 1. Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, you know, we took a class last year as well, and it talked about, you know, getting to a point in your life where if you want to retire and sell your database, it's important also that those people in your database say, yeah, Rick Swain is my agent of choice, because it makes it a very viable and I guess a pricey database at that point that you could actually sell.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about it, I suspect most of us have had the experience, especially if you lived where you live for any period of time. I've lived in way too many places for this to happen for me too often, but you go to the dentist, right? So you go to the dentist and it's the same people at the front desk and they're in the same location and it's the same hygienist. And all of a sudden this new dentist walks in and you're like, who are you? Like, oh, I bought the practice. What did they buy?
The database.
They bought the database. They bought you. Same thing. Same absolute thing. Okay, so how do we now communicate with these groups? And this is the part that I'm finding really interesting. So now we've got saturate, 19 to connect, 1 to cement, and then 36 to convert. So not really that much different. If we start on the left side, the 19 to connect, this in my mind translates pretty much directly to the way I used to teach farming. So the way I used to teach haven't mets, this is it. This is pretty much exactly it. I personally would never send 26 emails a year to somebody that I did not have permission to send. No way in this world. And if I have permission, they're not in this group. So I would mail monthly. I would still mail monthly. I would look for opportunities to get permission The quarterly phone calls are interesting in this group. Offering something of value. You got to be careful about do not call list, the events, get-togethers, parties, those sorts of things. 19 touches. Oh, sorry. 12 touches for the monthly newsletter. I was looking at the wrong column. I apologize. This is what happens when I have share screen and I can't see my screen. I can see y'all. So the quarterly phone calls, great. The 12 touches on the set and the 19 touches, I probably would not do that email. I probably would spend the money and mail it. It's relatively inexpensive. I would probably do that. The 2 touches, direct promotional direct mail, magnet calendar, something of value that they can keep. I like that. And then an annual get together, movie screening. This morning's group, they talked about having done a drive-in movie event where they did a drive-in movie and they projected the movie and the clients all came to a drive-in movie, which was kind of cool. I know a lot of people doing shredding events right now. Like that seems to work really well because I don't know about you guys, but everybody I know has gone through all of their old papers and stuff because they've been stuck at home and they got piles of stuff to shred and they don't know what to do with it. So a shredding event is a super powerful event or get together. I would probably not recommend doing something via Zoom because a lot of us are pretty zoomed out. Okay. Then the 1 touch to cement. I wish they'd given a few examples of this because I can't think of one. So if I've already done 19 to connect and now I've got 1 to cement, I'm really not sure. I mean, is it a home enhancement checklist of these are things you can do to improve the value of your home if you're not going to sell in the next 30 days? Is it a market value? I guess I could offer to let you know what your house is worth in today's market. I don't know. What do you guys think? What would be a high touch value?
There's one that my lender, since interest rates have fallen so much, there are some clients I just sold a house to just a year ago that could really benefit from that. So that was one of those things calling, hey, I can save you some money. So still giving them value after the sale.
That's good. Actually, you could probably look at tax records and see when was the last time a mortgage was recorded, right?
Yeah.
And you can call through and in your farm, right? You could probably call through and say, hey, I noticed that blah, 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 and they haven't paid any principal. Like if it's been less than like 8 years or something, they haven't paid any principal.
Yeah.
I mean, I just bought my house 4 years ago and I did a cash out refinance. I took out over $100,000 and my payment went up $200.
Wow.
That could be, right? Like there could be people that are in that scenario. What could that mean? An investment property that they could buy? Could that mean the second home they've been wanting, the vacation place? Right? What could that mean to somebody? So I think you're onto something there, Rick. Yeah, I think you're onto something. And I don't even know that you need to have a strong relationship with the person just to call and say, hey, I'm your local real estate agent and I just wanted you to know interest rates are ridiculous right now. Have you thought about refinancing? Or if you're going to be in your house less than 2 years, it might not be worth refinancing if you're going to be there less than 2 years, but I could help you with some things you could do to improve the value between now and then. Now I'm developing a relationship. Okay. On the 36 touch one, I still wouldn't send 26 emails. I might send 12. I might send 12 emails. And if I was going to send 12 emails, I absolutely would send the neighborhood insights out of command. No doubt about that. I would send the neighborhood insights out of command. I want one thing in their mailbox every month. That's just me. But my results were awfully doggone good from my 36 touches. So I personally would do something in their mailbox and then the neighborhood insights. I think that's a great combination. I love events, gets-togethers, parties. You may have noticed my last name's O'Brien. So we did a wine tasting and an Oktoberfest. So wine tasting in the spring, Oktoberfest in the fall. We got so much business from doing those. And they're fun. They're just fun. They're good. Now, You may have to wait until next year. I'm not sure what the situation is like where you are as far as being able to do get-togethers, and that's okay, right? The way I like to think of this is to get my annual calendar. I literally, it's up on my wall over there. I have an annual calendar so I can see the whole year and what I'm looking at for all of the touches and when they need to go out to people, so that I know that they're all going to get done. And then I can backward plan from them. The big thing in the new lead gen model is quantity. It's quantity and consistency. So making sure that the touches, a lot of touches happen consistently, because we can't really game when is somebody going to buy or sell. So we need to be in front of them when that happens. So we want that consistency. Okay. What are you hearing there?
We like your Oktoberfest idea.
It was really great. We had a blast. Yeah.
I actually used to work at a bakery part-time, and we did beer cheese and pretzels a lot. So, and it's a local bakery, so we might partner with them and
Do that next year.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
There you
my
go.
big, huge focus for 2021 is client event. So
Oh, awesome. Yeah, the at Mega Camp, there was that one person that did brews and buying. Was that it? It
Oh,
was
yeah.
brews. Yeah, she did brews and buying, right? So she did home buyer seminar at the brewery.
oh yeah, we really like that idea too.
Yeah, fun stuff, right? I think we can do a lot with those things. Okay, what else? What else did you hear there?
For me, it's consistency. I'm a shiny object kind of guy, and a new smart plan comes out, you know, and all of a sudden I'm all about it, but then I'm not consistent with it. I got to get better at that.
Yep. So I may have said this yesterday, but I'm a freak about language. So I think that when we say to ourselves, I have to, our inner 3-year-old shows up and goes,
Mm,
So how about if we choose to?
yeah, I get to. Yeah.
I get to, or I choose to. Because when we recognize that we're the ones making the choice, it helps keep the 3-year-old back in the closet. We all have that inner 3-year-old. Some of ours are more bratty than others. Mine's way up there. I've got a great inner 3-year-old. And okay, so I have to learn how to manage that. And part of the way I manage that is through languaging. So the keys to success on page 4.9. So frequency, of course. Interestingly, when it comes to quality versus quantity, quantity keeps you top of mind. Done is better than perfect. Hopefully that gets like plastered all over people's walls here. And then of course, consistency, get permission. Your goal really in the 19 touches is to get permission. What can I do to get permission? How can I get permission here? And then pair value. As you learn more about the person, now you can be offering them things that really are of more value to them. And that's exactly what Command does. So how do you currently segment leads and contacts into groups in Command? How are you breaking out your leads and your contacts into groups? So you target your communication. What are you currently doing with that?
To friends and family, new past clients. I group them. Sometimes I group them into how I know them, like if it's from the Moose Lodge or the Women of the Moose or stuff like that.
Okay.
Just like commonalities.
Great. Yeah, what we really want to be sure of is that we can source our leads, right? Where did this come from? So where did this come from? Did it come from my community activities, you know, like the Moose Lodge? Did it come from my 19 touches? Did it come from a referral from somebody? So knowing how we can source those. I'm supposed to warn you over and over and over again about the do not call list. So don't call them if they're on the do not call list. Apparently, there must have been some massive penalties handed down across the country because this is now everywhere in every class on every topic. Like I'm seeing it everywhere. So don't violate do not call. That was clear enough, wasn't it, Rick?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's now think about the lead generation model and implementing the lead generation model. So remember when we did the economic model, we know how many appointments we need to go on, right? Now we need to figure out how many leads we need in order to do that. So taking a look up here at the top of your sheet, which is on page 4 point, it's down here a little bit, 4.21. 4.21. I'm going to skip a couple of the pages that are in the book on purpose because one, I've already noticed a few typos and some things that are suspect. And two, as I look through like page 4.15, etc., I cannot imagine this is going to live through this next 6 months. Like the numbers just don't add up here. So I think maybe this page was a little rushed through KWU because it just doesn't work. But if we go to page 4.21, we want to start thinking about your database. How many do you need in it? How many are there? And then what are the lead generation sources? So I think Kate is still here. Kate, are you here?
For a brief moment, I am.
Oh, good, because I want you to do breakouts for us now.
Rick has it,
Rick has it. Oh, look at him. He's like, oh, I do.
but I can go help him.
Okay, great. That would be perfect. Because this is the exercise that I would like for you to do with your team is to look at the My Lead Generation sources, the 19 to connect touch campaign. So what are the items that you're going to do there? And the 36 touches. Start with the 36. So start at the bottom and work your way up, please. Because if you run out of time, I want the 36 touches done. And then we can work on the 19. And I'm sure you've got lead generation sources. We can figure that out. The 36 touches are the most important, bar none. So Kate's going to help put us into breakout rooms by teams. I'm going to come around and like check on people. So Kate, can you make it so that I can like wander?
We're going to say yes.
Okay, cool. If you can, great. If not, we'll just, so I would like to run this for about 8 minutes.
Okay.
And that means that in about 7 minutes, you close the breakout rooms and it'll start shutting them down. Okay, so 36 touches first, then 19 if you have time.
Okay. Okay, guys, look for your little breakout rooms and you should be able to click into them.
So everybody got muted automatically coming back into the room, just FYI. Okay. Let's see. The rooms close automatically, so I know I get you back. All right, look at that. Just FYI, everybody came back on mute.
Yeah, Pam, just a FYI, the only one I screwed up on was you. I assigned you to only one room.
It's okay.
I'm going to make you co-host, and then you can float however you want to.
I'm fine. We're good.
All right, hon.
Yeah, that was probably the last time we'll do that. You know, because all we have to get through is budget model and organizational model now.
Got it.
So what did you guys come up with? What did you realize in looking at those 36 touches? What do you need to put into place first? And what's the action step to get that done?
One of our main things was I just put on all of our calendars. Every 3 months, we make our Sphere Care calls because we were not the best at doing those.
Yeah, I'm going to say that what you want to do is have, depending on how many people each person is calling, I personally like having 2 days where I'm making my care calls, right? So my lead gen, 2 days of the week are going to be my care calls. So Wednesday, Friday,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to make my care calls. Tuesday, I always update all my existing clients. Like that's what I do Tuesday. Tuesday, I update all existing clients. Mondays, follow up from any open houses that I've done ever in the history of my life. If they haven't closed for an appointment yet, I'm still following up with them. You know, and then Thursday might be whatever my other pillars are, right? It might be visiting businesses. It might be whatever the other thing is. So I really like having a couple of days of the week that's what you do.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. The other thing is that we discount little bits, and we discount little bits in every area of our life. So there's a big research study that even people who are really good at recycling, throw away the little bits of paper. Well, when the big paper gets to the recycling center, guess what happens? It gets turned into little bits of paper and then something done with it. And yet there's just something in our mind that discounts the little bits. And I love starting every day with creating a list of things I can do in the little bits. Like, oh, I've got 5 minutes before my client's going to get here. They're going to be 5 minutes late. What can I do? Oh, I can write these 2 handwritten note cards. Oh, I've got 10 minutes before, I can go in and categorize the expenses in QuickBooks for these things that nobody but me knows because I'm the one that bought them, right? Oh, I've got, 15 minutes. What can I do? Oh, I can call a person. I actually particularly love calling people when I don't have a ton of time, because then if it starts dragging on, I can say, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this other call forever. I am so sorry. I got to go. That sounded sincere, didn't it? Okay, just check. Okay, who else? 36 touches. What's your next step?
Well, I just get that I haven't been doing it.
Okay, so what's your first thing to implement, Pam?
I just wrote down, for me, I wrote down, before we broke out, I wrote down every day. And mine's on a smaller scale, Pam, because I'm the transaction manager.
Okay, love it.
So, right. So I just said every day I just want to touch base with one of the agents I'm already working with and one of the agents that I would like to work with.
Oh.
Every day.
Okay. That's great. Hang on one second. Okay. Yes.
Pam, do you
Yes.
have any connections to any BAs that could assist with this?
With the calling? With the
No.
36 touches? With
Definitely
creating
not the calling.
the 36 touches? Creating the 36 touches?
Yeah,
Um,
I just, and just helping, like if we are gonna do an event, they can help with, put that together.
Not offhand, but let me think
Okay.
about that. So I work with a couple of TC companies, so not, like I've got a VA, would she do that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll have to think about that. I will think about that.
I know Ben Kinney has a group of VAs that do projects, I'm just wondering.
Yeah. So what I would say is start small.
Yeah,
Start small and start.
yeah,
And an event really does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It could be a little, it could be in anything. A lot of people are doing pie events right now.
hmm
Pie event can be a really, it's relatively low impact, relatively inexpensive. Costco's got pumpkin and apple. Pumpkin's $6.99. Apple's $11.99 or something. Like they're both pretty inexpensive. And it gives you an opportunity to call through your database and say, hey, I'm doing pies for Thanksgiving. Would you like apple or pumpkin?
We did that last year. It was really good. Yeah, we gave them like 3 options: pumpkin, apple, and pecan, which is my favorite.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I was just thinking most people are doing Costco because it's easy and they can handle a big order.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite visual that I got is one of my friends that did it last year rented one of those like creepy white cargo vans to deliver them all. Well, that might have taken some of the impact out.
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay. So on page 4.23 is the 411. So from the economic model, you're going to start plugging in your numbers in the 411 from the economic model. So now you know your net income number, you know your total units sold, you know your listing and buyer appointments. Now we can start plugging in the contacts, the events, what we want to do. In your case, for all of y'all, I lived 16 years in Texas. I can say all y'all's. So for all y'all, what I would put for the annual goals would be a fully executed 36 touch, a fully executed 19 touch, right? Like a fully executed plan that's consistent and systematic. That would be probably the annual goal where I would start.
I like that.
Thank you. Now, the thing about the 411 that I really like is when you take the what off the plate, right? So if I've got this on the 411 and I know exactly what I need to do, I can spend more time now on the how, right? I can get better at the how when I'm doing this, that it frees up that brain space. I don't have to spend time day after day after day wondering what should I be doing, because I already figured out what I should do. Now I can optimize how am I doing it and do that at the highest possible level. Okay, so you should have done your action steps. You know what you need to do. When you pre-plan your priorities and you put them on the 411, and then you look at your 411 and you put those activities on your calendar, it is hard to not hit your goals. If your 411 never makes it to the calendar, all you have done is wasted time playing around with papers. The 411 is a planning tool, and you've got to move that to your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, it just doesn't exist. It's hard enough to get you to do the things that are on your calendar, much less to remember to do things that don't make it to your calendar. You might think I've been in real estate for a while or something, like I know us. Okay, so let's talk about, actually, do you guys need a break? Do you need a quick break? Or have you been taking, yes, we need a quick break. Okay, so can we take like a 5-minute break? It is 2:26, so I'm gonna start again at 2:31. 2:31, this is a teaching trick, by the way. Always give a weird number what time you're starting. So I'll be back at 2:31. Ooh. Oh, there's Shannon. Hey.
Hey, Pam.
Okay, let me take a second and open this window. It got warm. Yay.
It did here too. We're in the 80s. I did not dress right today.
One of the drawbacks to having an attic office.
Oh, yeah. Is that where you're at?
I am. Yeah, this is my attic.
You need one of those big Dyson fans.
You know, I really don't, because I've got window, two windows, and another window. So I get a cross breeze from
Nice.
every direction. Yeah, I
Nice.
love my little nest up here.
Yeah.
It's
that's
my
fun.
space.
We had a home office until June, and we just got too big for the home office and had to move into a space. But it
Yeah.
was because we could open all the doors and windows, and we had our office pets.
I got my cat over there on the. He just jumped on off the chair and went down onto his scratch pad where he also likes to sleep.
Yeah.
And his sister's down on the bed, I noticed. So, okay.
You get company.
Yeah. All right. So we ready for budget model? Because, you know, woohoo. The path is through the math. All right. For those of you who I can't see your pictures, like do something to indicate that you actually made it back. Just so I know. Yay. Thank you, Boyd. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, well, I'm gonna get started. It's an extra couple minutes. Okay, so budget model. When we're talking about the budget model, it really helps to keep in mind the 30-30-40, right? The budget model is what defines where our profit is going to come from. And we like to say that you want to minimize your expenses to maximize your net income. However, I really think the budget model for me is more about calculating and understanding return on investment, because you can minimize your expenses to the point where you starve your business to death. And so it's not as much about how much are you spending, how much are you saving, as it is about what return are you getting for the money that you are spending. And I think that's a healthier way to look at it. Well, obviously the money that you spend is the cost of doing business. However, if we can just change that language a little bit to invest instead of spend, it can be more powerful. When it comes to your accounting, this is not the place to be a for sale by owner. If you are not a CPA, you should not be doing your own taxes. We go out and tell people that are selling their house that they need a professional. You need a professional for this. This is not the place to be a for sale by owner. So the budget model is really two tools in one. So the budget is a planning tool, right? We want to say, this is the money that we can spend. You create it annually. It projects your expected returns and in cash flow. And on the slide, it says restrain the gain. It actually should say restrain to gain. The book is correct. The slide is wrong. You would not want to restrain the gain. You actually want to restrain to gain. I think some of this got produced a little quickly. That's okay. We'll give feedback and they'll get it fixed. That's the way it works. So that's the first tool, is the budget. The second tool is the P&L, which stands for profit and loss. I don't understand the resistance that we have as an industry around the profit and loss. Unless it's that we're just afraid that there's loss and no profit. If you can't shine a light on it, you can't fix it. And hiding your head in the sand leaves other parts exposed. So you need to be very aware of your numbers and where you are. I really like using the P&L as a management tool. And the way this has worked for me and an awful lot of the teams that I know and have worked with, rather than review this bi-weekly, I'd like to have little bits of time to look at it weekly and a bigger chunk monthly. So when the KW office closes out their books and transmits, that's exactly when you as a team should be closing out your book. You're not transmitting to anywhere, yet you should close out your books every month, just like KW does. And if you are not confident in your numbers, you should join the financial planning committee or the profitability committee or whatever your office calls it. I honestly think that I'm as comfortable with the numbers as I am because my husband was the chair of the financial planning committee for our market center for 5 years. So nobody else would take it. But we learned so much about running a business from participating on the financial planning committee. Because there are people in that world of your market center that know how to do this at a high level, and you should be accessing them. And you do that via participation on that committee. You don't have to be ALC. I'm guessing that an awful lot of people on this call are ALC, but you don't have to be in order to participate on the committee. And that's how you really learn your numbers. We created the committees for that, not because we needed free labor. It's so that you could learn the things that you needed to learn. And it's a leadership skills camp. That's what ALC is. So are the committees. So you see, they say review bi-weekly. I like weekly. Your P&L should show your actuals versus projections. And then of course, adjust to win. Small businesses that go broke do not go broke because they overspend. They go broke because they under-earn. So what happens is that we say, oh, we're going to do this much business this year. And so great, when I take my percentages, that means I can spend this. And they spend all of that, but they don't bring in this. That's the problem. So when I was general manager for 7 market centers, we had to do our budget based on last year's actual revenue. We could not project an increase in revenue to project an increase in expenses. We had to demonstrate actual improvement in revenue before we could increase expenses. Really smart way to run a market center. Really smart way to run a team. We don't go out of business because we overspend. We go out of business because we under-earn based on our projections. So when we're thinking about money, we want to make sure that you're investing rather than spending. And practice accountability, not accounting. What does that mean? Does it mean to practice accountability, not accounting?
It means every dollar you spend, you need to be able to track the return on the investment on it. You need to hold your own money accountable, the actions associated with that money accountable. And if they're not bringing you back the revenue you need to cut them quickly.
Yep. You're a student of the game. I like that. You're a real student of the game, Shannon. Like you're paying attention and you're really studying the game. And that's how we win, is we study the game. So I think we should get her a t-shirt, student of the game. Okay, so let's talk about the budget terms because these tend to get people a little sideways sometimes. So cost of sales. Cost of sales is the cost of acquiring the revenue. If you don't have a closing, you probably don't pay this until you get to a listing specialist. Because a listing specialist is cost of sale, even though they're on a salary. So the cost of sales, generally this goes on the green sheet. If it goes on the green sheet and it comes out of commission, it's probably a cost of sales. Many, many accountants are going to argue that your P&L should start with the money once you get the commission and everything's come out of it. The problem with that is then you do not understand your true cost of sales. So give them a copy of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. I am absolutely serious. When I hired my last accountant, I gave him a copy of the MREA and he became a groupie. I'm like, okay, stop watching Gary Keller videos because you got accounting to do. Seriously, he became a total groupie. It was hilarious. So the cost of sales is the cost of acquiring. And then is the gross profit. So total revenue minus cost of sales equals gross profit. In other words, the revenue left over after cost of sales. Okay. Then you take out operating expenses. That's the cost of running your business, whether or not you have any transactions. So your rent, your salaries, your car, your phones, your technology, and we're gonna give you some detailed stuff in a minute. So you'll be able to see exactly what that goes into that. And then you get to your net income, which is your pre-tax income. Your pre-tax. What's your average sales price there?
Our team is at 212 right now.
Okay, that's pretty good.
The office is 174.
You guys are going to struggle to get to 30, 30, 40 across the market center, right? Like it's going to be a struggle because you have to do more units. So you need more people and more stuff to do more units to get those numbers. So if you're on a team and your average sales price is probably under 250, you're probably going to struggle a bit with the 30, 30, 40. So just know that. And don't feel too bad. Like keep working as best you can to get to it. And just know that part of it is because of sales price.
Yeah, that's an accurate assessment. We're pretty.
The breakout session that I did for Mega Camp this year, I had the breakout session I did for Mega Camp, I had 3 panelists and they each did $45 million in volume. The guy in LA does 38 units to get that volume. The woman in Miami does 48 units to get that volume. And the guy in Gainesville, Florida does 200 to get that volume. Which I really liked because it showed, right? Like we can all be successful at regardless our sales price. We just have to understand our numbers.
Well, and I'm sure their front side of that looks different too, because their cost to acquire might be different. Their activity to acquire might be different just because maybe they're in a more saturated market.
Yep, absolutely. So take a look at page 5.5. So this starts breaking it down for us that the listing specialist is on a salary, though they go into the cost of sales. 5% is about the budget that you can have for that group. Then your buyer specialist is 25%. The other cost of sales is minimal. I mean, the cap to the market center is minimal. When it comes down to numbers at this level, it's just not a significant cost of sales. Now, interestingly, on the bottom of that page, if you look at the total operating expenses, compensation at 14.4% is 48% of your total operating expenses. Take career visioning, hire right. Because that's 48% of your total operating expenses comes from compensation. And then lead gen's 30%. So we like to say that when you hold those two categories accountable for results, your budget should be a healthy one. What does that mean?
Pam, can you say that one more time, please?
Yep. So if I'm looking at my compensation is 48% of the total expense, and my lead generation is 30% of my total expense budget. If I hold those two accountable to results, my budget will be a healthy one. What does that mean?
Bringing in business.
Could be. Right, that
My budget
so
would be a healthy one.
yeah, your budget will be a healthy one, right? If you do those things, your budget will be a healthy one. When you hold them accountable. So we find very often that people will make a mediocre hire and that person isn't getting the job done, so they hire somebody else to support the mediocre hire. And before they realize it, all of a sudden their salary budget is completely out of whack because they were not holding the salary dollars, the compensation dollars accountable to results. Now, it might be bringing in business to a degree. It might be freeing you up from everything else that you need to do so that you're actually doing all of your job and not wasting time with other stuff.
Mm.
I like to tell people in my ops class, look, If your agent is off doing stuff that you ought to be doing, here's how you tell them to stop. Get out of my lane. Get out of my lane. This is my lane. Your job is to go do this. My job is this. I got this handled. Get out of my lane. Now, for most admins, that's a really uncomfortable conversation, right? Because they don't tend to be really high D. Now, the interesting thing is a high S. Someone who's a really high S and is well protected will behave like a D. My best MCA ever, no D in her profile at all. And she was so well protected, she acted just like a D. Like, heaven forbid, I was thinking out loud and think of something, it would be done and on my desk the next day. Like, I was just thinking about that. Hold on. Yeah. Just get stuff done. Yeah, just get stuff done.
I don't even have to say it out loud.
You just
It's
watch.
on my desk the next day. Katie reads my looks.
Yeah, great, right? And so now that's a great return on your investment because that frees you up to go do the stuff that you have to do. Now, the ways that administrative people can bring in revenue is by making sure we don't spill leads, making sure people are on appropriate smart plans, making sure that we stay, follow up, do an amazing job contract to closing so we get referrals during that process, right? Like, there's so much that the administrative side of the business can do. And yet I hear all the time, I don't want to do that sales stuff. Who said you were doing sales stuff? You're doing great customer service. And then saying, hey, who else do you know that would like customer service like this?
Well, we're under our own accountability worst enemy because we can hire the best administrative support staff that will free up our time for the things we should be doing and then not do that with that free time.
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
as they need to be, we also need to be accountable to the work they're doing because it's directly correlated to what they're supposedly freeing us up to do.
Oh yeah. So do you remember at Mega Camp where there was that one woman, she had a 3-name, I can't think of her name right offhand. And she said that she had like this amazing ISA staff, right? Like great ISA, lead ISA, and it was running the team and the blah, blah, blah. And they were like making their calls and doing great. And the person in charge of that really talented person came in and gave her 2-week notice. And she's like, well, wait, what happened? Oh, well, you can't keep holding me and my team accountable when you're not doing what you say you're going to do. And so I'm going to go find somebody that wants to play at my level.
Ooh, mind blowing.
Right? Okay. And see, I think that's the thing. And so I really like changing the language around, like, I am sorry, I'm never going to call anybody my assistant. I'm just not. Because calling them my assistant automatically diminishes them in my mind and theirs and the mind of everybody they talk to. So I want an ops director. I want somebody that is going to manage the entire administrative division, who's going to run my world. I want somebody to run my world. Let me do what I'm good at and you go run my world. Now I'm happy. That person is not an assistant. And they don't get paid like an assistant. So we have to really think about that and then hire really amazing and then hold them accountable to the results of amazing. And Gary talks about this all the time, right? Talent versus non-talent. How do you tell talent? Talent's kind of pushy. Talent's going to push you out of their lane. Talent's resourceful. Talent doesn't come in and ask you 4,000 times, what do I do now? Really? Go figure it out. Right? Okay, cool. So that's what we should be looking at. Now, we can start looking at benchmark GCI, budget benchmarks by GCI. So looking at these columns, this will start giving you an idea of the averages and the best practices so that you can see, all right, where should I be? Where should I be? At $150,000 GCI, you're at about 13% cost of sales. And then look how much it jumps at 340. What's that jump? What's happening there in your cost of sales? from 150 to 340, why are we jumping from 13% to 26% cost of sales?
You've added staff potentially?
Salaries.
Fire
Okay,
agent,
keep in mind, cost of sales, not expense.
fire agent.
Bingo. Yeah. You probably brought on a buyer's agent or a showing assistant.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to showing assistants, I prefer to put them on salary or split because I want incentive for them to get that person to pick a house. So I know a lot of people that pay by door and they pay like per hour. I hate that. What's their incentive to have them pick one?
Mhm.
Isn't it better if I have to keep showing them more because then I make more money? No, you're not going to get paid until they pick one. So I do not like paying. I don't like paying that way. I think that we should.
How are they being incentivized on salary then, according to that logic?
Oh, then if they're on salary, I get to hold them accountable. Like you showed 4 houses and we didn't write an offer yet. What's the problem with your skills?
I love that.
Oh,
Mike digs your sense of humor.
oh, you thought that was my sense of humor, huh? Okay, good.
That's why they're laughing.
No, I'm serious.
Because we're not kidding.
Yeah, I'm absolutely serious. Well, I'll give you a really great example that when I was a team leader, I had an agent come in and say to me, well, my admin just won't, and I don't remember what it was, fill in the blank. And I said, so if they won't do that, how long are you going to keep paying them for not doing the job?
Yep.
Was it in the job description? They know what the job description was when they took the job. Great. So why are you going to keep paying them? And I actually, for people who have worked for me, I did tell them at one point to pull out their paycheck and take a notice of whose name was on the pay to the order of line and who actually signed the check. And if they would like to flip that order, we could have the conversation again. Sorry. I can see Ginger just going.
So,
That's tough love, but I mean, we don't have time, like you said, return on investment. Either the investment and the return is there on that investment or it's not. And we can sit here and go on a year and waste our time, or we can do it the right way and move forward and grow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My son worked for me. He came in and he's like, here. And I said, wait, what is that? And he's like, well, here. And I said, hold on a second. Are you giving it to me or are you asking a question? And having learned by then, being my son, he's like, what's the difference? I said, well, if you're asking a question, then you ask a specific question. I'm going to tell you the answer and you go back and you do whatever you need to do. And if you're giving it to me, then you're packing up your office and going home. Because if I'm going to do your job, I'm going to get your paycheck.
hey Pam, I'm looking at this and it looks like, so is this changed in the new book? Did they like survey more agents and they're seeing they're not getting, like I see the best practices at the end, but then I see, gross commission income, 3.4 million and the net is only 748,000.
Uh-huh. Yes.
They're finding that that's more likely that's happening out there.
Well, what they're finding is that people aren't following the model.
Yeah.
That's what they're finding.
Mm.
Yeah. So now you know sort of what's the average and what's the best practice. And so if you're, go ahead.
Can you guys teach me why that jumped out at you so easily? Because that didn't even faze me.
Just because I've seen the model for so long and know that if you do 2.5 million in GCI, you're net $1 million. And then I'm looking at that when they did 3.4 and they didn't even net $1 million. But if you're looking at your return, your net income, I mean, really the single agent, they're 49%. The larger you grow, obviously the less you take home according to what's happening out there, not best practices, of course.
Uh-huh.
What they're seeing in the marketplace by agents not running by the model.
Are these numbers on this chart individual or team numbers?
They become team numbers as you grow. Like the second one, the 340,000 GCI, that is with one buyer agent.
Yeah, see, that's why it went to 26% here. And see how your cost of sale goes up again? to 33%, and then your cost of sale goes up again. See how your cost of sales keeps going up? So at 3.4 million, Ginger, here I think is the problem. See how that cost of sale went to 45%?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet that those were people that had buyer's agents that they let take listings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of paying a salary for a listing specialist.
I'm gonna bet almost anything that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well, would it
Seal.
also,
Go ahead, Shannon.
would it also be that you've basically blown your salary and your, for those of us who don't have their team agents on salary and your splits? Because I mean, I'm trying to think back at my P&Ls and 26% is just really low.
20, yeah, it is.
Yeah, so think about if you've got your cost of sales up there 38, 39, 45%, then you are not operating according to the model. In
Right.
other words, you're giving too high a split someplace. I can tell you, I know tons of buyer's agents that are getting 75% of the commission,
Mhm.
and the expenses of the team are 40%. So every single deal that the buyer's agent closes, the team loses.
Yeah. The other thing, Shannon, you might think about too, are you classifying any expenses in the cost of sale category versus having that broke out too?
Yeah, we've combed through that pretty good. Thank you for bringing that up. That was one of our first things that came up when we started working P&L earlier this year.
There you go. Good point.
So Pam, really cost of sale, you put your referral in there?
Yep.
Any
Referral fees.
referrals, any company dollar royalty, and then
Buyer's
I
agent.
guess buyer agencies, yeah, go in there as well.
Yep.
So for the team agent, she needs to book the total commission. She puts her cost of sale that went to the buyer agent, their cost of sale that went to the, to the office.
Yep.
And then what if they're also deducting a transaction coordinator? Would you put that cost of sale or would you do that as an expense?
Cost of sale because you wouldn't have, if you didn't have the sale, right?
See right here, look. So it depends. Now, if my transaction coordinator only charges me if the deal closes, then I'm going to put it in under cost of sales.
Okay, it's $250, per close. Let's just say it's $250 per closing. The office collects it. So you would do a cost of sale if it's that way.
I would do a cost of sale.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I would do. Okay. So this may help, right? So as we start breaking out those expenses, so now we've moved from cost of sale, we're talking about expenses. So the expenses, again, 150, 340, 640, 970, right? So as we start looking at these numbers, salaries, professional services, because you outsource more earlier, right? So generally at the lower GCI numbers, we're outsourcing more because we don't need full-time people. So we're going to outsource more than we will later. And that money then starts migrating up into the salaries and benefits column, row as we go. Listing management. I really like breaking out listing management here. And this is a new line this year because I think it helps to know what do you spend on your listings. I think it's a really good thing to know. And then general prospecting and marketing, I think that's good to have that broken out. Now you can see the totals across here. Then occupancy, education and coaching. Best practice now for education and coaching, 2.5%. Agents on teams. I think that you should have your own budget to attend training and get coaching. Because all business growth is autobiographical, happens on the inside and it works its way out. I think that you should have an education and training budget and coaching budget. And so I guess this started when I was a team leader. So I was a team leader and the other team leaders around me expected the office to pay for all of my training. And I'm like, what? I'm getting benefit too, right? Like there are things I think I should pay for. And I think that's sort of the same thing for people on a team is that I don't think we should passively just be receiving. I think we should actively seek out training that was going to help us and grow.
Agreed, but Ginger, keep paying for my training, okay?
We'll do, Rick.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know, it's not in the model. It feels right to me that we should all be investing in our own education.
I was gonna say, I think that's something, it's almost a character skill so not everybody has that natural instinct to continue to invest in themselves, in their personal or professional growth.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. One of the things I do when I'm hiring is I ask, what's the last book you read? And what's the last class that you took after your last formal education? So, okay, you've got a college degree, you graduated whenever that was. What was the last class you took since then? And I don't care if it was master class in cooking online. Don't care. What was the last class that you took? And what's the last book that you read? I'm always fascinated to ask, what's the last book that you read? It's always a good one. Okay, so anything else in here jump out at you or you have questions about? Because I think this is fairly self-explanatory. You can see sort of how we get the averages and then and then we go to best practices. And people are not necessarily following the model, which is why we're not there. Did we talk about how so admin people should be W-2? Did we talk about that? No. Okay. Admin people should be W-2. If you are telling them when and where to work, that's a W-2 employee. That is not a 1099. And that is one of the things that will get you in the most trouble with the IRS. People worry about, oh my gosh, I got to do payroll. It's not that hard to do payroll. It's not that expensive to do payroll. Yes, you got to do the payroll, taxes, etc. That's yes. And if you are telling them when and where to work, that is a W-2. So virtually every administrative person that's on salary on your team should be W-2. I almost always get pushback about this one.
In Illinois, we have licensed admins have to be paid through the market center.
So salary for a licensed admin has to be paid through the market center, even if it's not
Yeah.
commission. Really?
Yep, it's fun.
1099 contractors.
I would be really intrigued to ask them how that squares with IRS rules.
Well, it's really interesting when they try to file for unemployment and, through the market center, and we're like, wait, they weren't an employee of ours, they were an
Right.
employee of the team,
Right.
but we had to pay them because Illinois license law is that way. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I'd be getting on that board and I'd be pushing for reform in that area because that does not square with IRS rules.
Yeah, it does seem odd.
It does not square with IRS rules. And I wonder if somebody went back and pointed that out and said, wait, IRS says this. And so what you're asking is for all of us to violate IRS regulations. Maybe we should adjust that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Nothing I can do about Illinois. I barely can do anything about
Us neither, sister.
Nothing I can do about Ohio either. Okay, so on page 5.9. Actually, I don't think they gave you a good copy of this one. I wish they'd given you a good copy of this. Maybe it's in here someplace. Oh, it is. Okay, so go to 5.9, stay there. So when is the expense cost of sale? When is it operating expense? Okay. We talked about that. I think that's good. So when is it both compensation and cost of sale? ISAs, OSAs, they can be sort of, in the wishy-washy area, as well as listing agents. So listing agent gets a salary plus a bonus for each closed transaction. So salary goes to compensation, bonus goes to cost of sales. Yeah, I wonder how long they're going to keep listing agent salary in cost of sales. It feels like that's going to end up getting moved at some point because it really feels like it's more compensation. I mean, just doesn't Doesn't really feel like cost of sales because I got to pay it whether or not there's a closing. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Hence the reason I don't teach agent profitability. Okay, so discuss the MREA chart of accounts. When we start looking at the chart of accounts, and that's what I've got on the screen now, I'm really loving how they broke out this new form. And you've got it on page 5.11. So listing income, sales income, great. I think it's interesting to break out your builder new construction income. How am I doing from that? Referral income. So what referrals am I sending out? Leasing income, if you do that. And then transaction admin fees. What income are you getting from that for your total residential? I do not think that you should dabble. So if you're a residential agent, you're a residential agent. If you're a commercial agent, you're a commercial agent. You get sued when you dabble. When you do the things you don't know really how to do. And if we look at the NAR Code of Ethics, it really says to don't dabble. So you do one or you do the other, I think. Then cost of sales, commissions paid out, other cost of sales, right? Then you've got your gross profit, compensation. They've really broken this out into a lot of different pieces now, which I think help a lot. So salaries, benefits, professional services, listing management, prospecting and marketing, your occupancy, all the different bits that go in here. And then I keep wanting to scroll down and it wants to take me to the next slide. Now we've got below the line income. If you're not familiar with below the line income, you should probably go to the financial planning committee. The money that comes in, like interest income, right? That would be below the line. If you're going to do profit share with your team, you profit share above the line. If you're going to bring in interest income, maybe vendor supplier income, you have to be really careful with RESPA on that. And yet there are some things that you can do there. Your profit share income, probably below the line. My profit share paid my house again this month. If you're not paying attention to profit share, you should be. Especially everybody on this call, especially, should really be aware of profit share and the benefits that exist there. I haven't sold a house in a long, long time. I've been in leadership for a long time, since 2008. And yet, most months, my profit share pays my house payment and more. Usually my house payment and my car payment. Now, goes into a business account, but still.
Hey, Pam, I'm a little confused about this below the line income. Never heard of that for an agent. Obviously for the market center I have, but that makes zero sense to me. So can you explain that a little more?
Same thing, exact same thing as a market center. They're just now recommending that a team run more like a market center.
So they want us to profit share with our team?
Possibly, if you want to do that. They just want you to be able to break out those numbers and be really clear so that if you are bonusing based on profit, that it's clear you're bonusing on the business profit, not the below the line profit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is kind of, slick's the wrong word, right? But it's kind of cool that they're saying, hey, we figured out best practice for running a big business and it's called a market center. Maybe we should have our teams run more like the market centers.
Yeah, okay. No, I just wanted to understand why that's there, but that makes sense if you have someone, like I do have someone on my team, she's been with me, she's an admin, you know, she's actually runs our team. She's been with us for 10 years and she's ready for owner profit, you know? So.
Yeah. So what makes sense is to bonus her on the business profit.
Right.
Things that happen below the line that she's probably not, like your profit share, is there a reason that that should feed into the business profit? That really probably should be below the line.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a certainly more sophisticated conversation than we've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not ready for it today, okay, you're not ready for it today. That's right. Learn the profit and loss. And then if you're ready for it next year, okay, maybe we can start playing with what happens with vendor income, interest income, profit share income. What happens within that? Because now you're having a different level of conversation. And remember that people grow into the conversations that you have around them.
What's the below the line expenses? Is that
if you're going to pay employee
Income
profit share, right? So that's below the line, other pre-tax expense. And then, so like pre-tax expense might be your car. If your car was not 100% for the business. So, or if you had some other car merit, it might be the best example. Like my business owns my car, but that's a straight out office expense because that's what my CPA said to do. I'm not a CPA. I don't play one on TV. There's only a few of us old enough to know that reference. Okay. Rick, you should have laughed at that one. Come on, man.
Okay, you got it.
Thanks. Some people, I tell you. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. You need a calculator and you need to know the number of your GCI that you want in 2021. So what's the total GCI for the whole team if you are the lead agent? So how can we do this for the for other people on the team? You're really going to be paying attention to your cost of sales. Okay, so let's just run through this. Write in your GCI goal up here. Okay, so you got your GCI goal. Sorry, my chair squeaks badly.
For the team, right?
For the team, the GCI goal for the whole team. And for what year? Now, super simple. Do not make this complicated. You're going to take the number that you wrote in for your GCI goal. You're going to multiply it times the percent of GCI that it has in this column that says percent to GCI. And you're going to write the number that you get on this line where it says dollars based on MREA. Okay, so GCI goal times the percent equals the number based on MREA. So do that calculation.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay, so you got that one? Okay, now go back to the GCI goal times 25% and write the number next to it. For other costs of sales, all you're going to do is write in your cap plus royalty. So you just write in your budget plan, my cap plus royalty. Now, buyer's agents, your GCI goal, you might have to backward plan this unless you did it on that last page where we were talking about it. So the way you figure it out is you're going to say, like, just find a place to write it and say, I want to make whatever that number is that you want to make as a buyer specialist. And then divide that by the percent of the commission that you keep. That's how you figure it out. Okay, so now you've got your GCI numbers. Keep going. Take your GCI goal times for the compensation. So GCI times 14.4%, write it in under dollars based on MREA. So finish the sheet.
Oh.
And as you get done, just like give me a high five or a heads up or a thumbs up or something so I know that you're done. Don't figure out other stuff right now. Just do the calculator drill. How much could I spend based on MREA? Amanda, you made it back. I'm always pleased to see people not driving.
My apologies. I had an issue come up and I had to go do a Supra thing. So my apologies, but thank you for being patient and understanding.
Of course. I'm glad you're back and safe. Rick, they're making it hard, man.
We like to do that.
Yeah. It's human nature.
Yep.
Okay. So all you're doing right now is just a calculator drill. You get down to the bottom. Here's where you guys need to powwow tonight or tomorrow, preferably before the weekend, and say, okay, if the MREA budget model says that I can spend 5% on a listing specialist, are we going to do that this year? Yes or no? And if no, just put a 0 under my budget plan line. Okay. Am I really going to have buyer specialists, singular or plural? And are they really going to do half of the business? So is half my business going to be buyers? And if so, are they going to do all of those buyers? Okay, so now you start calculating then what's the cost of sale there. Compensation. Are we on track? Are we not? Wow, looks like we really need to bring on a few more people, but our GCI isn't going to support it within the budget. So what do we need to do? Do we need to look at something else so that we can, right? Now you start playing with these numbers and really understanding them. Okay, so go to page 5.13. The focus areas for the budget model are, of course, lead with revenue. Now, most real estate lead generation does not cost very much money. What costs money are the silver bullets that make you think you don't have to do the work and you're still going to get the business. Those cost money. So that's 5.13. So make money before you spend it. Of course, lead with lead generation rather than expenses. Really, to get a lead could be free because you're already paying for your phone. You're already paying for your phone. So the cost of a lead can be minimal. And what they say at MegaCamp that a Facebook lead right now on command is averaging $1, $1. And you don't need 1 million of those guys. Like whenever I see these things, like, we're going to get you 1,000 leads a month. You can't deal with 1,000 leads a month. You don't want 1,000 leads a month. I'd rather have 10 good leads a month than 1,000 crappy ones. Because all that's going to do is just make you have to go through more people to find the ones that are good. So really be thoughtful about the money that you're investing in lead generation and lead with revenue, not expenses. Of course, play red light, green light, right? As Shannon was saying, hey, we spent money on this. Is it giving us a return? Is it worth spending more on, or should we stop that? Stick to the budget. Now, it doesn't have to be the exact MREA percentages, of course. And if you're in a market where you have to do more units, as you guys are, right? Like some things are going to have to bend a little bit. What matters is that you say, this is the money that we're going to spend, and these are the results that we're going to hold it accountable to. That's really what matters. Of course, get into a rhythm and make sure that you're looking at your numbers regularly. On page 5.15, these are the traps that you can avoid. The traps are not taking the time to understand how the model works and how it connects with the other models. You can see, right? You can see how this flows right in to all the other models, right? It just works beautifully. Be careful about being too lenient with money, with the promise of big returns. So be careful about that. Anybody that wants to lock me into a 1-year contract that I can't get out of, I'm not signing a deal with. Like, oh, sign a 1-year deal and it's, $5,000 and we're going to get you all these listings. Sure you are. Can I get out of that deal? No, then I'm not interested. I'm just not going to do it. because they shut down and then they open up with another name and they go do it again as soon as you can file a complaint. Don't chase GCI. Beware that what you want is return on investment. It's not just about GCI. It's about return on that investment. We like to say, are you after the profit or the crown? Because an awful lot of real estate agents are about the crown. And I want to walk across the stage with the biggest trophy. Is it about the crown or is it about the money? So it's not just GCI, it's actually profit. You know, you don't have to run a strict 30, 30, 40, right? You need to know your numbers and where you can do. Not accounting for one's own expense salary split. We're recommending now that you budget in the amount of money it would take to replace yourself. If you had to replace yourself in the business, where would that budget come from? And are you ready to do that? How will you know when you are? Being uncomfortable with budgeting, tough, get over it. Like, you're gonna be a business owner, you're gonna have to get comfortable with budgeting. Okay, I think that probably does it for that. We already did that. Okay, let's go to the 411 on page 5.21. Here are some examples of things that you could put from the budget model into your 411. You could put in something like update the budget for the year, right? Maintain 30% expenses. That would be a good goal. I know for my market centers, when I was general manager, what percent expense was always what we were focusing on as a market center. What's the percent of expense? So then monthly, what types of goals might you add? Well, review your budget model and adjust as needed, complete and review the P&L results. Okay. Remember, your P&L should not be a report. It should be a tool. It should be a tool. Okay, so ahas and action steps. What do you need to do as a result of this conversation?
I had an aha that doesn't even have to do with my own business planning.
Okay.
I'm looking at the finance committee totally wrong. I was looking at it as if it was about entirely about supporting the market center and kind of finding myself at a loss. And I realized how much opportunity I have to support our agents in the other direction about something that I'm currently a student of, and realizing, okay, if I'm just now becoming a student of this, how many other people could use support in becoming a master of the budget model?
That's a huge one. That's awesome. Thank you, Shannon.
I would say timing is everything, right? So we're almost November, which gives us, you know, what, about 10 weeks until the year starts. So what a perfect time to diagnose our 2020 business, really be strategic, and start 2021 off on the right foot. Absolutely.
Yep. Love it.
Well, I just want to confess to all of you that I'm guilty, because honestly, I'm really bad. I have never really, probably the last 12 years, actually did a budget for my team. So I am dedicating that I will run our team off a budget. You know how realtors are. We buy everything we see pretty much, and then realize 3 months later we've never used it. And, you know, so anyway, I've got prepare my GPS for the team, create a budget, and then commit to updating and reviewing my P&L by the 5th of every month.
Love it. Yeah. So, treat your team like you treat the market center.
I know, right?
Treat your team like you treat the market center. And that's why I love getting people involved with the financial planning committee, because then they learn, oh, this is how you operate a big business. Great. And you start understanding what goes into it. It's an amazing opportunity. So I really liked what Shannon said there. Cool. Any others? Any other action steps? Okay, well, we've got just a little bit. We're going to be right on time today, I think. Cool. So let's talk about the organizational model. I think they've done a beautiful job of cleaning up the organizational model and making it so nice. Now we're gonna move to nicer pages of this where you can see it better. This is the overall view now, right? So this is where we really move from self-employed to business owner, where we don't have a job in the business anymore. This is the third L in the pyramid, right? So this is the leverage piece, the people piece. This is the path to business ownership. It's your exit strategy. So if you really want to have something to sell on the other end of this, building a structure where you can exit out of it, and maybe you don't even sell it. Maybe it just keeps running and you just keep collecting profit. I really like to use this model as a vision tool. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be at the end of 2021? Where am I today? Where do I want to be? Now, one of the most common questions we have to ask ourselves is, where am I off model? And almost always there's going to be people who are off model. So what do we have to do to get that shored back up and structured closer to correctly? So how do we start here? Let's go on to page 6.3. What are the things that drive hiring? Well, what drives hiring are, if you've got too many leads, who's got too many leads? I guess it's possible, right? You can have too many leads. If your people are too busy and they truly are talented in doing everything they can, or if you're missing opportunity in your market, you're probably missing a person. The model helps you avoid hiring out of pain. It helps you hire in the correct order and to do things purposefully. So when you're thinking about hiring, before you hire anybody, first explore other leverage options, tools, technology, systems. I would add to that list skills. I would add to the list skills. That if you increase your conversion rate from 50% to 70% in each of the economic model conversions, you either make twice as much money or you have to go on half as many appointments to make the same. So I think skills are the #1 tool to working smarter, not harder, is your skills. How good are your skills? Then what tools are available, what technology is available, and what systems do you need to implement? And really being aware of, how do I get those put into place? When you're lead generating, you also should be lead generating for talent. If you found somebody ridiculously talented, you figure out a place to put them on your team. You just figure it out. Get them on your team. If they're crazy talented, get them on your team. Don't let them go. Because finding that really talented person can make all the difference. Now, of course, you want to consult your budget model and understand that, knowing the cost and expected return on investment. Please understand the cost of a bad hire. When I hire, I don't care about what skills they have. I care about what values they have. My favorite question to ask people when I'm hiring is, if I could wave a magic wand and create the perfect work week for you, what things would you be doing? What would you be doing? So I was interviewing a team leader, and as you probably all understand, one of the key jobs of the team leader is to grow the market center. So I asked this question because it was obvious this person was a terrible match. I'm like, okay, so let's wave a magic wand. I'm going to create your perfect work week. What are you doing? And she went through about 15 things. And then she looked at me when the light bulb finally went off, and she went, oh, and grow the market center. I'm like, honey, let's just cut to the chase. Like, in 3 months, you would hate your life and hate me. So let's just cut to the chase and hate me today. Because you're not going to be a team leader for us. You're just not. And isn't it better to just do that now? Because you're going to hate your world in 3 months. If you come in and the main part of your job is the part that you didn't even think to say in a perfect world would exist in your job, you're going to hate your world. So let's just not. Let's just not. Really great question to ask. And it's not a question that anybody ever prepares anybody for in the interview process. So I like those two. Yeah, the wave of magic wand is a beautiful, beautiful construct to get information. So keep that one in your hip pocket. Of course, when you're hiring, you really want to have a written job description for the role and let people know what you want to do. One of my favorite quotes is, all conflict comes from unfulfilled expectation. All conflict comes from unfulfilled expectation. Works with your kids, your parents, your spouse, people around you, works with everybody. Now, it's not technically part of this course, though I've been hearing a lot about the role of loyalty in the workplace. And I'm going to caution you around the use of the word loyalty. And the reason why is if you look at the word loyalty, the flip side to the word loyalty is what?
Loyal.
There's even a better one.
Disloyal.
There's even a better one.
Being a traitor.
Traitor or betrayal, right? So loyal, betrayed. Like, just think about the construct that creates in your world when you work on a construct of loyalty. So a better way to think about this for the team might be alignment. That what you owe to each other as a team is alignment to the path and the vision and where you're headed. What you owe to each other on the team is communication if your path changes. And this is for everybody on a team. That if you're heading down the road because you really, really, really want to be on Rick's team, and then you realize, you know what, where Rick's headed really isn't where I want to go. You owe him not loyalty, you owe him communication and honesty. Because it is not disloyal or betrayal to say, hey man, I thought about it and where you're headed just isn't where I want to go. That's just misalignment. And that doesn't make you bad or me bad. But when you do it in terms of loyalty, it makes somebody bad. And that probably doesn't belong in the workplace. I'm not sure it belongs really anywhere. I think alignment is a way better way, healthier way to look at that. So just a quick aside, because it's been an incredibly powerful conversation for people to have that conversation about alignment and understanding that I'm going to go with you as long as where you're going is where I also want to go. And we need to communicate about that so that we're in alignment about where we want to go. Okay, so how do we start this path? Well, we start with level 1, and you guys have all passed this. So you got level 1, which is where you should have really mastered lead generation, mindset, and starting to make that shift to a business owner, right? Where I'm starting to move from somebody who's self-employed to a business owner. That happens there around level 1. Now, level 2 is where it is you and an admin. Here you're mastering how to hire, how to train, and how to hold people able. I think that holding people accountable has gotten a really bad rap, right? I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to blame you. Well, how about if we hold people able? Somebody was asking on Facebook yesterday, what's your unique ability? What's your superpower? And I think my superpower is to help people see the highest version of themselves and want to attain it. Holding people able is about seeing the best version of them and helping them to see it. Holding people accountable feels an awful lot like blame. And you have to be really careful how you do that and make sure that you're doing it in an empowering way. Now, I'm not saying let people off the hook and let people not do their job. Obviously, I'm not saying that. You know this. What I am saying is how you have the conversation matters. When we talk about the second level, hiring is the key skill. Hiring is the key skill.
Hey,
Now,
Pam,
yeah.
if you could back up there 1 second too. We just read the MREA book and really tried to be a very good student of the business. And one thing I think I had to get out of my own mindset was you think of hiring an admin and making this number up for $25,000 a year.
Right.
And automatically you think, oh my gosh, can I really afford $25,000? That's truly not what you're paying them. You're paying them $2,000 a month. So if you are holding them able, that is your cost, is that $2,000 a month. If they're not performing in 90 days and you release them, yes, you did spend $6,000, but it wasn't a $25,000 investment that you dropped.
Right. Yeah. And I tell people all the time that if what the going rate is for an assistant in your market is $25,000, you should look for somebody for 40. And then hold them accountable to being worth 40. Yeah, right. Like, are you really worth it? I mean, I'm having this conversation right now with a team that they've got somebody who's calling herself director of operations. She's in a much more expensive market than yours. She's making $62,000 a year and is completely overwhelmed. And she's like, well, we really need to hire. I really want to take the listing manager role, but not step back and pay. And we need to hire a director of operations. It's not in the budget. Like, it doesn't exist in there. There's no room in there. A good director of operations is probably worth 60, 65,000 in that market, but not a listing manager. So you've got to be really aware of creating the expectations. The problem with when you bring somebody in and you pay them a certain number, immediately they believe they're worth that number, whether or not they're doing the job to the standards of that number. So you have to watch the standards. The other thing is that standards matter, and the standard is the lowest that you're willing to accept. So if you've got multiple buyer's agents on your team and you say that the standard is 2 closings a month, but you've got somebody doing 0, then the standard is really 0. Make sure you understand that.
Standard 40% for.
So what was it that Mo Anderson says? Oh, Mo Anderson says, if you're not willing to hold people accountable, you don't care about them enough. She's another one of my tough love people.
Velvet Hammer.
Velvet Hammer. Yes. She's another interesting person to be in a small room with. Okay, so level 3. When we look at level 3, now we're really mastering the systems, right? We want those systems to be efficient and effective, and that they're really going to work and they're smooth and they happen. Now we're working on succeeding through others, that other people are actually the ones that we're succeeding through them. Now you can see again the analogy back to the ALC, right? The reason that we're talking about the ALC and having committees is so that you learn to succeed through others. Such an important learning laboratory there. And then going too deep. So going too deep means that the people who report to you have their replacement hired and in training. So you never, ever get the job back. We do not want those jobs back. We're not good at them. We're good at other stuff. So I'm going to guess that most of you are somewhere in between levels 4 and 5. So somewhere in here, 4 and 5. I'm just going to tell you that, so Shannon's probably past this. Level 4, part 1 is where my heart lives. My heart lives at level 4, part 1, because I can get 62% profit at level 4, part 1. Oh, come on. Where else can I get that that's legal, ethical, and moral? I mean, I have standards. Come on. Yeah. So I love, thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that you're laughing at my jokes. Okay. So level 4, part 1 is where my heart lives. I love that level because you're leveraged. You've got people handling stuff for you. You've got somebody licensed for when you want to go take a vacation, and it's not heavy, right? Like, it's nimble. I really like this level, and it's really highly profitable. So
who does your listing appointments when you're gone, Pam?
You know, these days I would probably, so one of two things. One, if I'm taking a week off, I can probably take a week off because my business comes from referral.
Okay.
And so I can just say, I'm going to be gone this week. What is there anything I need to do in the meantime? And you could probably schedule to be gone for a week. Okay. Now, if it's more than that, you may need to do something else, but I can be gone for a week easily in this model.
Okay.
Yeah. It's conceivable you might miss a deal here or there. Unlikely though. Unlikely. So then as we look at level 4, part 1, now we're bringing on a lead manager, an outside sales, inside sales, OSA, ISA, right? And a showing assistant. Showing assistant on commission, preferably, salary possibly, not hourly, and not by door. no incentive. There's no incentive there for them to fit, choose a house. Now, it is possible that you could take that showing assistant and they could graduate to buyer's agent, and then they could graduate to a lead buyer's agent. I think the behavioral profiles are so different. I see a few challenges in that. For me, I want the showing assistant to be the person that walked into the market center and was like, oh, Rick, I want to be a real estate agent. I want to be a real estate agent. I love HGTV. That's a perfect showing agent. Yeah, sorry. No? Okay. That's a perfect showing agent, right? You want that enthusiasm, and I love houses, and I love real estate, and I love it all, and I just want to show houses. And they're going to be good with, 10 to 15% of the commission. Because if you add up how many you're doing, that's probably a fine living, right? And they get to do the fun stuff. Don't put your value of how much something is worth on them. Because where else are they going to go have fun all day long and still make, $25,000, $30,000, $35,000? It just works. Once you've got your showing assistant, now possibly, as I said, they say you might promote that person to lead buyer's agent. I'm not sure. Possibly, depending on how you hired and what the expectations were. Lead buyer's agent should be able to manage other people. I think they have a different behavioral style, interestingly. So like you get to see, right? You get to decide, what does that really look like in your world? When we get to part 2, lead buyer's agent, they have showing assistants. Write this down. The definition of leverage is spending your money to buy back your time. So the definition of leverage is spending your money to buy back your time. So now when I look at level 4, part 2, lead buyer's agents on a 50-50 split, who's paying the showing assistant?
The lead buyer's agent.
The lead buyer's agent, because that's whose time's getting paid back, is getting bought back. You would be shocked how many teams I see that they're paying 50% to the lead buyer's agent and another 10 or 15% to the showing assistant. Like, guys, your cost of sales out of whack. You can't afford that. Don't do that. And so now we've added another administrative person too. We've added a listing manager. And they're the ones that you come back with a listing agreement and you hand it off to them and they take it from there. They make sure that it gets into the MLS and the photographs are taken and the lockbox gets put on and the, blah, 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 all the stuff happens. Okay. So they take that from there. They take care of everything from the signed listing agreement to negotiations. They're not going to negotiate. They take care of it up till offer comes in. Then it gets handed off. All these job descriptions are in my KW, right? So they're all in KW Connect. You can just get all of them on the leverage page. Every single one of these little circles has a job description that goes with it. Okay, any questions or ahas on this bit before we go to level 5? No. Okay. So at level 4, you're mastering leveraging out the buyer side and launching your lead gen division. Now, level 5, what you're working on is leveraging out the seller side, profitability, and building your lead gen division. So you're going to notice at level 5, lead manager has got an outbound sales and an inbound sales. Our director of operations still has 2 people under them. So they've got a director of operations, transaction coordinator, listing manager. And we probably have multiple buyer's agents with multiple showing assistants. Okay, at this point, you probably have multiples. It just got really crowded on the chart. So you've got a pretty good sized machine happening here. What moves you to level 5 part 2 is when you bring on a listing agent. So when you bring somebody on who's going to start going on listing appointments, now we're not seeing that many people who are bringing on a specific listing agent because so many of the lead agents like the listings. They don't want to give up listings. They're keeping listings. So I think that's kind of cute. Okay, then level 6. At level 6, you become the CEO. You are not involved in transactions, sales, clients anymore. You're not doing anything with those. And you start looking at bringing on an expansion agent. You've got a director of sales that's managing your sales division. And that's the big hire at this level. Somebody is a director of sales who's managing that. You're still the owner, the CEO. You've still got only 3 real people who report to you. So the director of lead generation reports to you, the director of operations reports to you, and the director of sales reports to you. And then you start thinking about, am I going to be looking at expansion? Level 6, part 2. Now you're looking at expansion business. Here's the thing. Until you have mastered all 4 of the models, you don't get to play in the expansion world. Because if you do, it's an awful lot of risk. It's an awful lot of risk. So at level 6, you're working on leadership, leverage, perhaps expansion. And then at level 7, you bring on a CEO. So you're working on replacing yourself, vision, and accountability to growth and standards. I think this is really nice and clean now. I think they made it really nice and clean. The other one was, I thought, hard to read. Let's see. So what are you hearing in here?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I do a needs analysis with an agent and you ask them, where do you see your business in 3 to 5 years from now? They may say, well, yeah, I'm going to do $20-25 million. Well, how are you going to get there? They really don't have a great answer. And I can honestly say I don't have a great answer either, how I'm going to grow my business. But when you see this, it makes it very systematic. It kind of plots out my hiring plan, and it gives me an objective that I could put on my GPS that every year I'm going to add this role into my business.
Yep, exactly. Which roles do I need to add? So the question now is, are there support positions that you're missing because you hired the other stuff too soon? And for most teams, the answer is yeah. I need to go back and fill in some of those support positions because I hired too much sales and I don't have enough support to support that.
Hey, Pam, can I ask a question? Because it's such a newer thing, but pretty common nowadays. How do you envision VAs fitting into this role as well? Since they're, they are part of the team, but they're not present, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suspect that an awful lot of this will get turned a bit on its head because of how we've learned to do things remote. People used to ask me, can my admin be remote? And my answer would be, I don't think so. I'd rather it wasn't. Yet technology has improved to the point where it's much more possible than it used to be. Like there are things that you need to do, but now there's technology like with phones, right? That one of the things that the office staff ought to do, right? The administrative team ought to do is be answering the phones when you're on appointments. Well, that used to be hard to do, but it's easy to do now, right? Like there's technology for all that stuff. So I think it's much easier to do than it ever was before. And you can outsource so much stuff. Tons and tons of stuff you can outsource.
Hey, Pam, that director of sales, are they paid as a percentage of the sales, or do you know?
Generally, it's going to be salary plus.
Salary plus.
Yeah, salary plus.
And same for the director of lead generation?
That one's salary. Generally, that one is salary. Salary plus bonus probably, but generally not commission.
Is director of lead gen really like marketing to generate leads? That's really what that is. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So page 6.11, a couple of traps to avoid. Take the courses. I mean, there's a CV course, career visioning, 30, 60, 90. Just take the courses. Just take the courses, understand the KPA at a high level. It's such a powerful tool. So understand that at a high level. Expectations. If you think you're clear on expectations, go have another expectation conversation, because there's probably something you haven't addressed. If you didn't do it fully in the career visioning process, go back and do it again right now. Say, hey, I apologize. I should have done a better job at this. Let's sit down and do the expectations conversation again. In my ops class, I had somebody that we talked about expectations, and I knew that her agent had just hired her and had done the expectation conversation. But the agent, when I talked to her, said, oh, she came back and made me do another expectations conversation. I said, well, I know you had one. She's like, I know, but she wanted another one. Great. That's fantastic. Because making sure you're on the same page is so valuable. So expectations, and it's right there in the KPA. All you have to do is just follow the process that it has in there. Make sure that you check the budget model to factor in salary expense. Don't skip levels, right? Don't skip levels. Make sure that you're following the process the way it works. And don't hire just for the sake of having a bigger team. That is not a good reason to hire. It's okay. I'm not actually going to do that, but let's look at the, let's look at page 6.15. So take a look at those 9 questions. How are you doing in terms of your areas of mastery? So on a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being low and 4 being high, how are you doing on lead generation, capture, and conversion? Go ahead and answer all 9. And then once you answer that, down at the bottom, what are my plans to improve and or delegate to get help with? Told you they rushed this to get help with. And then once you're done with that, go on to the next page and do your future organization business plan. Where do you want your team to be? What will it look like at the end of 2021? And when you're done with that, go on to the next page, 6.19, and it gives you some ideas of what types of things to write in your 411. Okay, so give me some signal when you're done. All right, Amanda's still working. Okay. So really what we have from here on out is AHA's action steps and then like you putting your 411 and stuff together. Taking everything we've done over the last 2 days and thinking about the action steps that you wrote down. What is the number one most important thing that you absolutely have to get done before the end of this month for your team? And it should be a different answer for each of you, I would guess. What's the number one thing that you're going to get done by the end of this month based on everything we've done over the last 2 days?
October.
Because, go ahead, Amanda.
October.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, October. All work expands to fill the time allowed. Well, and the difference between education and entertainment is implementation. So often people attend classes and do nothing as a result. So what is the action that you're committed to taking? And the faster you take action, the more likely you continue to take action. So what you gonna do?
Well, for me, I think we'll have a team meeting, get clear on these goals that we each have for ourselves, and see if the combined goals, you know, like Amanda's on my team, so I need to see what her goals are and how they fit into mine, and really who I need to hire, and just really get some clarity so that we can track and get the systems in place to be able to track. Because the one thing I haven't been tracking is buyer appointments either. You know,
Yep.
we always track listing appointments. No, those.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. Who else?
Mine's very similar to Ginger. I definitely want to get alignment amongst my team. We just did a lot of work, you know, internally in my head, and I need to make sure that they're bought into it. And I know they will be, but if not, then that's where career visioning comes in place, and I need to do something about that.
Yep, exactly. Beautiful. Okay, who else?
I think for me, it's becoming a more valuable member of my team. I'm a newer agent and brought on as a buyer specialist. So just utilizing more of the tools that I have access to, specifically the Smart Plans in Command, and you know, using the task in there to make sure I'm getting my follow-ups done on my appointments. But also, and we talked about this yesterday, again, so if any of you see me, ask me, did I do my scripts? Did I practice my scripts? Okay. Is that, yeah. I mean, if you see me, hear me, something, go, did you do your scripts? Because that's just something I'm intimidated by it. And it's not that it's hard. I mean, we have the scripts, we have the tools. It's just committing to that and making that and dedicating myself to using those tools and being a stronger member on my team.
Who's your script partner, Amanda?
Well, I'm trying to get Jamila.
Okay. One piece of advice, because I was that way 3 years ago. I just hated scripts and was uncomfortable. Make sure you cut out all the small talk. None of that. Just start right with your script practice, and when you're done, hang up. And that'll help you a lot, because sometimes you feel like you're filling time. You don't need
Yeah.
to. Script practice, be done.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
So Shannon, who in your team was in there waving their hand?
Jennifer, she just volunteered to hold
I'll
Amanda
help you.
accountable.
We can do it together.
Yes, please do. Do it. And like I said, anybody ever sees me, just say, did you do it? Because the more people that say it, the more I gotta go, or yeah, I did.
Did so. Love it. Okay. Who else? We can do.
I'll come in.
Okay.
As Director of Operations for the Scott team, by the end of the month, I will have a fully executed 36 touch plan on our calendar.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you. That'll make such a huge, oh my gosh, what a huge difference that'll make in your business.
I bet that I can read Katie's mind and think that one of the biggest ahas we have today is done is better than perfect. And I think we know that already. Yes, she's clapping.
outside.
Like one night. The thing is, we've been focused so much the last 2 quarters on getting our foundation right that I think we've stopped to forget that we're building it. Now get in there and look at it and read it, read the results, read what you had, read the data, and course the line. We're just so hyper focused on reinforcing the foundation that we scratched everything about 1.5 years ago and started from scratch, that we've just forgotten to, okay, well, the tools are there, the products are there, the resources are there. Are we using them though? Yeah, so that's a big aha for us.
Ooh, good. Okay. Well, it looks like it was worth it so far, Ginger. Okay, let's see. Who else? Who hasn't talked yet?
How about that Ryan Saltman guy on here?
I
Ryan?
saw him napping.
Yeah.
He's napping.
He's nothing.
There he goes.
Hey, I fell asleep in the nook over here.
Wait a minute. Don't ever tell an instructor you fell asleep in their class. What's wrong with you?
This nook
And
is
I'm
so
his
cozy
rainmaker,
over
Pam.
here. This nook is so cozy.
So Ryan, what was your big aha? What are you going to do?
Man, I tell you, every year this planning just I get all pumped on it, and then I slack off, and then I lose track of that. I think we all can relate to that a little bit. And
I'll hold you accountable.
just who's that?
I'll hold you accountable.
Pam Malta.
Oh, Pam definitely holds me accountable. So and Pam, me and her have a relatively newer friendship. So Pam is going to be the one that helps me stay on track for 2021.
Awesome. So I hear this a lot that, I start out great and then I sort of, fizzle out. You need to have, Rick, you need to have times on the calendar to review this, at least quarterly, because the human brain just does not function in longer than 3-month increments. Preferably check in monthly. And this is where the 411s can really help. You're doing your 411, there is no excuse for not knowing exactly where you are and for allowing yourself to sort of fizzle out, because your 411 will let you know what you committed to and how far down that path you have achieved. That was a terrible analogy, but you know what I mean. There's better grammar possible in there, I'm sure. All right, who else have we not heard from? Erica, Amy, Kristen?
I was just thinking that I always am good about setting my goals and then actually tracking them really well. I mean, I track some things, but I always tend to leave some things out. And then every year I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that this coming year. And so that's I'm doing it.
Me too, Amy. I'm committed this year. I'm running off of 411 this year, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well,
it not getting to the calendar. So I just made a note for myself that on our final team planning day that we have scheduled this month, that one of the activities we do on that day will be to put it all in the calendar.
Yeah,
That's great.
and plan your reviews with the team. That's good.
Yep. Okay, this is your shot at me. Like, I won't see most of you tomorrow, so this is your shot. What you got?
I've got a notebook full of notes that, I mean, we could sit here for 4 more hours if you want. Every year I think I know what I'm doing, and every year we do business planning and it's like, yeah, there's my mind again.
I know. Pam, you were awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
You really, really were awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our solo agents tomorrow. Oh, Pam Malta, did you have something?
I was gonna say, I never get excited about business planning, but I just wrote in the comments to Rick that some of this is above my head, but I'm super excited. So, and then my action was to use the 411 because I haven't been using it. So, but yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure. Cool. All right. Well, I'm here for a few minutes if like Boyd or Erica or Kristen, I say who's writing? Oh, Kristen's writing an offer, sorry. Kathy, you want to come on and give us an action step? Saying out loud what you will do in front of a group of peers makes it much more likely to happen. So I'm going to encourage you to say, this is what I'm going to do and by when.
Kathy Popovich, can you hear us?
She's talking to me.
Sorry. I have a whole list of things. I'm kind of relatively new to Amy's team, so I'm kind of catching up on what it is she needs and what we can do to try to get her to where she wants to be. So, but I've learned a lot, and I've got a whole list of things that I think we can use to kind of get her there.
Awesome. So Amanda, I just wanted to circle back. Do you feel like I covered sufficiently what you needed, the way to plan your business as a buyer's agent?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several things out of this. Like yesterday, a lot of ahas. I had several, when we got to the end of it, I'm like, I got 4 or 5. But honestly, it's just, and I said it before, and I hate to repeat myself, but it's just committing to the steps. It's just committing to the tools and resources. They're there.
Yep.
And it's just, instead of, practicing in public, it's using the tools and preparing myself and developing my skills and growing. So yes.
Cool. Oh, well, good luck, Kristen. I'll cross my fingers for you for your personal first house. Woohoo.
All right,
That's
hey, Boyd, I don't know how you're feeling, but you're the last one left. Can you share with us?
Yeah, I think for me, the main thing that I need to work on is putting systems in place for making my contacts. I do consistently call my database, but there's no rhyme or reason for the people that I'm calling.
Yep.
So it's not systematic at all. It's just I log into Command and pull up who I haven't talked to in a while and then just reach out to them.
Do the database too.
I'm sorry, our VA that we have, if you want, he can tag them for you with the program that she's talking about.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, you'll just need to email me your login and I can have him log in and tag all your contacts.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Anybody else want that? We just need your login to Command, He can do that tonight.
Wow.
Sounds good.
That's amazing. So the other thing I'm going to say is that generally agents and teams would pay for this class. And I know that, Ginger and the Market Center picked it up for you. Make a donation to something in the amount of the value that you got for the last 2 days. So KW Cares, if there's something happening in your community, maybe this is the beginning of your big why, and you can start with that. So generally people would pay somewhere between $49 and $99 for this class for me to teach it. Who could you donate that to that you could start making a difference towards your big why? So I'm going to encourage you to do that.
It's awesome.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, well, that's what I've got for today. I look forward to seeing, well, I won't see any of you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you, Rick, tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, Rick. Everybody else, if you need anything, ask Rick and he can ask me. Awesome. All right, take care.
Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
Great
My
job.
pleasure. Bye.
Thanks, Pam.
Bye.